Hey, I think we're live. I believe we're live. YouTube says we're live. Let's see if the Ohio internet can hold up to the tests today. Just check Facebook. Things are loading extremely slowly. Welcome to Massive Iron Live, guys. It's Friday, April 9th. On here as long Facebook says it's not loading. We'll be on here as long as you guys can stand us, as long as you guys have questions. The internet breaks. Our internet is really shit today. I have no idea why. We had a little bit of rain yesterday, and the signal is not the best. So if we cut out, we apologize. I've rebooted it a couple times, but it does not appear to be the greatest, which is random. Robert just froze up again. From the last 10 days, Robert, have been not the best for me. A bunch of my clients have been put in back. You're frozen again. A bunch of my clients have been put back in lockdown again, which is I'm sick of it, to be honest with you. Gyms open, gyms closed. I need a program. And like the people, I just really feel bad for my clients because they're just being dicked around by these governments that just continue to open and close gyms and string them along. Anyway, I'm a little bit frustrated about that. How's it going on your end of the world down there in Texas, Robert?
Pretty much status quo. We don't really go anywhere, deal with any of the bullshit. Like, Texas has been open for a month. Cases are lower, even though everybody was scared shitless. Oh no, the governor took away mask mandates, and so there's just been legal battle between the little douchebag tyrant mayor of super lib left wing Austin. And he keeps trying to, put the mayor and the attorney general in court saying we have the right to do this, keep this mask mandate up, even though cases are down. Millions of vaccine doses. If you want to get the vaccine, fine, get it. You still have the choice to wear a mask. There's no reason to force people to do this. All you're doing is hurting local businesses and pissing off your constituency even more with it. So, we go out to Spicewood. We get the fuck out of Travis County on the weekends. Like, Sandy goes to work and does her thing. I drop the halfling off at daycare and I work at home all week. And then on the weekends, we get the hell out of Travis County because you've got like normal people on half of it, and then you got the other half that are just fucking retarded and scared shitless. I don't know, I'm not sure what it's going to take for people to finally realize everything's okay. They've had a recent meta-analysis come out saying, masks may not really be that effective. You've got more proof that they're not effective. You had the CDC come out and say, oh, well, now you can have a 3-foot distance guideline. You don't need 6. Well, how often are you really like nut to butt with somebody anyway? How often are you close enough to, like, 3 feet is enough to punch somebody in the face if they're standing next to you? How often are you that on top of people in a constricted environment?
Robert, I'm going to shut you down. No one wants to hear about fucking masks anymore. No, we're done. I can't take it anymore. I love you, but I can't take any more mask discussions.
Oh no, it's fine.
I can't.
We're good. You asked how things were, so I just it's shenanigans and all of that stuff. So I'm more than happy to get to in engaging stuff.
Yeah, I can't take it anymore. I can't. But honestly, Robert, real reason why I want to interrupt you is the feed is shit. We only heard about a third of what you were saying for the last 2 minutes. I'm not sure if I'm coming in clear on your end. So
yeah, you're clear on my end.
All right. Sorry about that. You guys let us know where you're tuning in from and how things are in here. If I can get this to load. Meg, the strength guy, as a beginner, how much bodybuilding work do I need? Powerlifting questions. You can't get strong without a muscle base. It's impossible. As a beginner, muscle building and strength building are the same thing. They will be for a very, very long period of time. 3 or 4 years. Only once you built a base, does it come down to the point where what are my weaknesses and how can I improve my weaknesses? So, that you're going to go in and do doubles and singles and triples and 5-rep sets and train for strength without a muscle base. It's not way. There's too much of that shit in this industry right now. And I see it over and over again, guys coming to me doing all this low rep shit, no no muscle base, and it's getting them nowhere. They're stagnating earlier than the guys training for muscle. So it's not a separate path. It's the same path. You have to build up as much strength and muscle as possible. Let's see if these load up. Are we coming through okay on your end, Robert?
Yeah, maybe once every minute and a half, you'll freeze for about half a second, but other than that, it's pretty clear.
Okay, thank you. How do you recover from a cheat meal, and how do you deal with family and friends trying to sabotage your diet? You deal with it like a man. You just fucking get up and eat the next meal. Like, you do what the fuck you want to do. I mean, I don't mean to be short here, but I mean,
sorry.
Yeah, we just started.
I just needed to run upstairs to grab some because I needed keys, but I wanted. So when I bring Baba.
Sorry,
I'm sorry.
We're on shit internet, and we can't get rolling here. I'm getting a little bit aggravated. With the internet. How do you recover from a cheat meal? Look, you just gotta fucking be a man and fucking eat what you want. I mean, I'm sorry to be so direct, but recover from a cheat meal. You eat the way you did yesterday. How do you recover? You don't go back and eat like a slob. I mean, if you have to recover from a cheat meal, the question is, was it a cheat meal or did you eat like a fucking pig? Because I don't go out and binge eat. I don't go out and binge eat. I don't go out and eat like crazy. I don't need to recover from meals. If you need to recover from meals, it's likely self-abuse. And I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. But how do you deal with family and friends trying to sabotage you? Get the friends out of your fucking life. I mean, if friends are trying to derail you from your goals, these are my goals. And if they don't like it, get some new friends. And with your family, when I go to grandma's house and she's cooking some pie, I have a little bit of pie. I don't bring Tupperwares full of fucking chicken breasts and shit. You have to eat reasonably, but a little bit of that ain't going to kill you. But if you're around family to the point where they're making all their meals for you, you probably need to get the fuck out of the house. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm not trying to be hard, but if you're around your family so much that they're making the majority of your meals, it might be time to move out. Robert, I'm a little bit fired up this morning, so
I can tell.
I'm on all cylinders. You got all the fucking internet's down. It really aggravates me, so I apologize to guys. But let's get back to the cheat. I'll try to calm down here. Let's get back to the cheat meal a little bit.
I like fiery, Steve. This is good, man. This is awesome. I like this.
If you have to recover from a cheat meal, it's probably not a cheat meal. Would you agree or disagree, Robert?
I would agree 100%. I mean, like, let's look at it in the grand scheme of things. You eat, let's say you're trying to build muscle. You're probably eating 4 or 5 times a day, 7 days a week. So that's 28 to 35 meals. If one meal out of 35 meals is a cheat meal, you don't need to recover from it. So typically, let's say all your meals are like 500 calories, okay? 400, 500 calories. You have one meal that's 800 or 1,000 calories. In the grand scheme of 1 week, that's a drop in the bucket. That's not going to do shit, especially if you're trying to gain mass. If anything, it'll probably help top off some glycogen stores, help you recover a little bit and all that. You don't need to recover from a cheat meal. I mean, unless you go and you eat like an asshole and you go and you have an entire dozen donuts, you have a whole large pizza, you have 16 supersized fries and a big gulp or something like that. That's not a cheat meal. That's eating like an asshole. So you don't need to worry about recovering for a cheat meal. Like, you have one cheat meal a week, it's fine. It's a little diet break. You get a little mental break. You just kind of eat whatever you want to. Why do I hate the term cheat meal.
Right.
Because number one, what happens when you cheat in life? You cheat on a test, you cheat on a spouse, you cheat on your taxes. All 3 of those are bad things. Saying you have a cheat meal means you're doing something bad inherently, and it's feeding into this negative relationship that so many people have with food, and it's going to lead to disordered eating down the line. That's another thorn in my paw about the fitness industry is that you have all these fucking fitness influencers that are saying, "Oh, 20,000 meal, cheat," and they're glorifying this cheat meal or something like that. And I don't get it. I really don't. I mean, if you want to call it an eating challenge, that's fine. But don't say cheat meal. It just, that feeds into like this negative connotation with everything. I really don't like it. And why do you feel the need to have a cheat meal in the first place or categorize it like that? That's my other thing. Do you hate your diet so much, the foods that you're normally eating, that you want to do it? Or, I mean, you don't have to call anything a cheat meal. I can have pizza once or twice a week, every week, and it works. You fit it into your macros. It doesn't, you gotta have a healthier relationship with food. I think that's where everything starts with it. As far as how to do with family and friends trying to sabotage your diet, this is something that I dealt with when I first got into fitness. The city of New Orleans is a very unhealthy city. Everything is butter and sauces and roux and deep fried this and, smothered that, sauteed this. It's not very physically active, not a very healthy city. And so when I first started making the change, you get pressure from doing that. And you got to put your foot down, take your balls out of your purse and just sack up and get after it and just tell them, hey, this is important to me. This is what I'm going to do. You can either support it or I'm just going to, not spend as much time around you. That's all it is. Now, if you're at grandma's house, she makes a delicious blueberry pie cobbler. Yeah, and it's Granny's birthday. Have a piece of cake. That's fine. You don't need to go to that extreme. But at the same time, if they really care about you and they're actually your friends and family, they should support you for what you're doing. If not, tell them to fuck off.
Yeah, I don't blink an eye at decision. Sorry, Robert froze, so I assumed he was done. I don't blink an eye at making a decision, and what you're worrying about right now is not about the food. You're worrying about their reaction to you standing up for yourself. And, I don't blink an eye saying this is what I'm going to eat, and you just got to eat what you want to eat. I mean, I don't go through my day worrying about how people are going to react to how I wipe my ass, if I use wipes or toilet paper, if I eat, if I have one Monsters or two, what are other people going to think? Honestly, the healthiest thing I can tell you is, who gives a fuck? Why are you worrying about this stuff? And, one thing I can't stress enough is people that are keeping friends in their life that have nothing to do with the same path they're on. Right. I get clients who want to get on a certain path, and they have friends that are just fucking drinking bozos. And I get it. You were buddies once. But that doesn't mean you need to spend a lot of quality time with them if they are pulling you off the path. So anyway. All right, Shiv, can you make a body weight routine and a barbell and easy rod routine? Can body weight and barbell? Yeah, I have that available at my website, superlivingtoday.com. It's let me see if I can pull it up for you guys. Let's see here. Hold on one second. I'm not sure what easy rod. I assume you mean Robert's talking to Pornhub. If you guys are curious. Let's see.
Right. Sorry about that, Steve. That was my daughter's daycare saying that she just was walking across the room this morning and slipped on a puddle of water and just smashed her face onto the floor. So they said she's going to have a nice big old red spot on her cheek when she gets home.
Sorry, Robert. We only got about a quarter of that. The word did at least. This is the, if I can get this to load. There we go. Shiv was asking for a barbell routine. I got one over on my website. Just go over and hit that little search button right there. And if you search barbell or body weight, it should pull up. So I hope that helps some. Can we get big by doing calisthenics? No, absolutely not. Anybody that gets big by calisthenics or gymnastics is super advanced. They've been doing it probably 10 years. And they're probably doing resistance training in addition to just calisthenics and body weight. If there might be some freaks out there that look amazing with calisthenics or look amazing out of the womb and do calisthenics. I know some people that do body weight stuff only. The people I know that do body weight stuff only that have great physiques are advanced freaks and have been doing it forever. So the only thing I can say is if you want to try to get big with only body weight and calisthenics, you're going to have to dedicate probably your whole life. It's going to have to be your passion and your obsession. Anything to add to that, Robert?
Yeah, I think it's also going to be, you're going to have to look at what type of calisthenics. When I hear the word calisthenics, I'm thinking high rep, very easy body weight maneuvers, or you're doing like the circus tricks, like you're doing front levers, planches, things like that. I mean, there's a way to do body weight bodybuilding using standard resistance training moves. You can do inverted rows, you can do pull-ups, you can do dips, you can do push-ups. But I'm thinking like, the dragon flag stuff, some of the like super high rep push-ups, or you go and like see a Cali muscle video where he's like half repping through dips and stuff like that, or pull-ups. Doing super high rep stuff is not going to be the way to get big by doing calisthenics. You're going to still need to stick in that hypertrophy range of like 6 to 20 reps. It's the same principles that you're going to apply to regular weightlifting. Once you get to an exercise variation that is too easy for you and you're going past that, that around that 20, 25 rep range, you're going to need to find a more difficult progression, a way to get more tension on the muscle. So if you can do neutral grip pull-ups and you can get, your chin over the bar with good control and you can do 12 reps, you're going to find a neat way to either micro load that or, increase the range of motion. So instead of getting your chin over the bar, start getting your sternum, pull up and get to like an arch pull up where you're getting your sternum up to the bar. That's what I've started doing with when I'm doing reverse grip chin-ups instead of neutral grip. When it comes to leg, that's going to be the really difficult thing. You're going to have to start doing a lot of single leg stuff. You can't just do it. You can't do bilateral. You're probably going to have to work in some supersets, some trisets, maybe giant sets too, or, get really good at shrimp squats. I wouldn't do pistol squats too much because that's going to require a little bit too much balance, or you can use like a hand as a support to increase stability. Is it possible? Yeah, it's going to be a challenge though. The more efficient way is to use a combination of some kind of external loading. Even something as simple as like a weighted backpack or a dip belt or something like that to add just a little bit of resistance to, a lot of walking lunges, Bulgarian split squats, hamstring curls. Those can work. You're just going to have to be you can't do like the super high rep bullshit that you see a lot of people trying to do. That's not going to work.
Yeah, and I gotta add, I don't know of all, I've seen some of these people, and obviously I've interviewed some of them during my time in the industry. The assumption that they never lift weights, is highly individual. A lot of these guys lift weights or supplement calisthenics with weights. So I'm not saying that's the magic key, but I will say if they know how to challenge themselves with calisthenics, they're probably pretty efficient at challenging themselves with weights. And
how big do you want to get too? Is my other thing. Like, how big are you trying to get? Like Jay Cutler and Ronnie Coleman big? I mean, that's not going to happen. You're also going to need to be in a calorie surplus too, and constantly pushing for progressive overload in any number of ways.
So, Robert, let's go to one aspect of this question because it's a recurring theme. It's a recurring question.
Mm-hmm.
But is it any different than looking at the sprinter with big legs and thinking, is it the chicken or the egg? Sprinter with the big legs is good at sprinting because he has big legs. Basketball, does basketball make you taller? You look at a soccer player or a rugby player, does their sport make them look like what they are? Or is it because of their genetics, do they excel at that sport?
Mm-hmm.
So if you peel back the layers of what I just said, there's a good chance that a lot of these guys are naturally super athletic, super genetically designed for this, and that's why they're rising to the top in calisthenics. And I think that's a reasonable platform to base this on. Obviously, They work hard.
Correct.
But so, Robert McLean. All right, I think we're settled in. Between sinus headaches, the internet not working, my dog licking its ass, and my wife interrupted me like 1 second in, I got a little bit thrown off plane. If we have 4 sets, 8 rep goal on certain exercise where I max out reps on the last set only. Okay, so he's doing 4 sets of 8 with the same weight. and on the last set, he's pushing for as many reps as possible. But on set 3 at the 8th rep, do you suggest? No, don't drop weight. Never drop weight. Rule number 1, never drop weight. That's kind of the way it goes. Dropping, if you can't hit your reps, that'll happen. Sometimes you add weight. You might have 8, 8, 8, and 10 on 4 sets, and then you add 5 pounds, and you're at 8, 8, 7, and 6, or 7 and 5. It's not a call to get weaker. You already were at a lighter weight, and you know what you can do at a lighter weight. From here, all you simply do is try to improve by +1. It's as simple as that. I get this question a lot. I moved up in weight and the reps dropped. Should I drop weight? Hell fucking no. There's no victory in weakness, no victory in stepping back. You earned that ground. Now stand that ground and go get another fucking rep. All right. Sebastian, 2-part question. How do you fit both shoulders on the bench? Well, you can't fit both shoulders on the bench. I don't really know what you mean. You can't. How do you fit both shoulders on the bench while bench pressing? You can't fit both shoulders on the bench. That's physiologically impossible. Maybe you're misunderstanding a form cue that somebody presented. You can pack your shoulders, which means if you think about grabbing the barbell and rowing the barbell towards your chest, then you're packing your shoulders. Does that make sense? Anything you think I'm missing here, Robert?
No, I mean, I guess he's trying to figure out either he's trying to figure out where his scapula go on the bench, or maybe he's trying to feel his rear delts touching the bench, like when he's pulling the bar down and he wants to feel that engagement. That's weird. I don't know.
Maybe you can clarify. It's something that's not talked about a lot, but when you're benching and you're holding the weight down here, if you don't understand the concept of packing your shoulders, think about it like this. Think about rowing the bar down to your chest. If you do that and you're driving your elbows back like you would on a row, you'll feel that back tense, tighten, contract. That's kind of what you want to think about. How's it going, Stein? Appreciate you tuning in. I'm trying to decompress and not be so angry out of the gate here. When you wait all week for this, man, and the internet shit, you're like, come on, man, come on. Lindsay Spence, any tips for someone wanting to get into personal training? Or I train trainers to get into training. And we discuss things. If you're interested in that, you guys can go over to my website. There's under the coaching tab. The personal training thing, there's a lot of great tools these days for online trainers. I would say online training is the way to go. Obesity coaching should be taken seriously because it's a huge part, or could be a huge part, of your business and doesn't require one-on-one. Advice on personal training. Selling time in the gym is hard because if you charge $40 a session, then that has to include your time going to the gym, time coming back from the gym, gas, expenses, and you're not going to make a lot of money. So you really need to take online training seriously. So with that said, you need to research how successful. Look at what other successful online trainers are doing. I would add, a lot of people ask, how do you get clients? Super, super easy. Super easy. You can go to like local Facebook, and every city, no matter what city you're in, like where I'm at, I can search my city in Facebook and find local Facebook groups and say, first month free coaching with a 3-month commitment. And you'll have 5 to 10 people in a week. As long as you're, as long as you got your website set up and your whole platform set up. So maybe I shouldn't have added that it's all about online these days. Well, face-to-face is fine, but you're not going to make a lot of money face-to-face. You're just not. And it's going to be frustrating, and half your people aren't going to show up, and half your people are going to run late. if you have to understand in life, whatever business you're in, if you're in the business of selling time, you have to make sure that the value you get per hour is worth it for you. Robert and I discussed. So online allows you to do more, per hour. And it's not all about money, but you're able to help more people, and a little bit more money per hour can provide a little bit more stability to do what you love. So never devalue yourself, but don't rule out online training. I've run out of breath very easily. Any cardio program you can recommend, preferably 30 minutes a day. Something with elevation, step ups, elevated treadmill, height on incline, some form of HIIT cardio. Depending on your weight, you can do some form of HIIT cardio where you can do periods where your heart rate is elevated. Any thoughts, Robert, on any other forms other than the ones I've mentioned?
No, I mean, I like to do a mix of modalities if you're looking to try and improve like your VO2 max, your cardio conditioning. So some days you can have a lower intensity day. Like Steve said, you can just get out and go walking. I mean, don't just like meander like you're walking a crippled dog or something. But like, set a good pace to it. Challenge yourself. You don't need to be running or jogging or sprinting, but just go on a leisurely stroll. But put some effort into it. Some high intensity modality that's a little bit more easier on the joints. I'm not sure how old you are or what your current level of conditioning is. You could do a 30-30 split on kettlebell swings. That's really good. It's easy on the joints, but works some movement patterns that a lot of people kind of are deficient in. So you could do 30 seconds on of really hard swings, 30 seconds rests. Do that for 10 or 15 minutes. That's going to kick the pants off of most people for cardio conditioning. Like Steve said, other HIIT protocols are good. Or if you want to use a machine, you can. I hate machines in all forms, like any kind of cardio machine. I just have no desire to want to go and do that. So my cardio is either outside, like going on a walk, or like a really long walk. You can go hiking. Kettlebell swings or bodyweight circuits are all really good.
Thanks, Robert. Hey, Robert, I got a new arrival here. I want to see if you've messed around with this one.
The Incredible Hulk. Ooh.
The Immortal Hulk.
The Immortal Hulk. Oh.
It's kind of a mix of Hulk and horror.
Ooh.
So I've not read it, but I got the whole thing.
Wait, I'm gonna have to look into that.
Check it out. How old's your daughter now?
3. She'll be 4 in June. So 2 months, and then she'll be 4.
So that's a little bit out of her wheelhouse.
She looks at the pictures. I'm reading her the Spider-Man omnibus right now, and I've read her both the Infinity War and the Infinity Gauntlet. So she knows all the characters, and she sits there and listens to all of the text when I'm reading it to her. So,
what's going on, Bree from Mongolia, one of my clients. Nigel, tuning in while hitting a posterior workout. Thanks for tuning in, Nigel. I appreciate it. There's 17 days until gym open here. Scotland, maybe, I believe. Yeah. Gym's open in the UK on Monday. Thank heavens. I'm so tired of my UK clients being pounded like a nail. It's just ridiculous. But I'm hoping. It's like waiting for something to come and knowing there's a chance it's not going to show up. I've been working with so many of my UK clients forever, and I swear if Monday comes and they extend the lockout, it's going to be one of the most frustrating things I've ever seen in my life. These people are just struggling. So I can't catch the Supplement Engineer live because of the time difference, but say hello to Sandy. Bree's off in Mongolia, so I'm not sure what time she's on when you do the Supplement Engineer live.
That's probably like we do it at 4:30 our time, so Mongolia time. I imagine that's like 5 in the morning, 4 in the morning, something like that.
So Robert, when is the Supplement Engineer live? By the way,
it is every Thursday afternoon at 4:30 Central Standard Time in the afternoon. We had to cancel yesterday's at the last minute. Sandy got bogged down with some last minute projects that came up at school. both with the school she teaches at and with her online classes that she's doing right now. So we had to bail yesterday at the last minute. I don't like having to do that, but I mean, she actually has, I'm going to quote, a real job where she, is teaching students, and then she's doing her online PhD classes right now. So that push comes to shove, that's going to take precedent over, doing a live.
So I appreciate you guys tuning in. Post up your questions, diet, training, supplement, nutrition, off topic. Movies are always welcome. I want to apologize for those of you that joined us out of the gate are having a lot of internet problems, and I was pissed at the internet. And I took it out. Robert was cutting out when he was talking on his mask, and I got pissed off. And I took it out on Robert. So you missed that fun. But Robert, I still love you, and I hope you'll not hate me, and we can stay in this relationship for a very, very long time.
No, you attacked me. I need to go hide in my safe space for a couple minutes.
I just had a weak moment.
Don't shame me, Steve. Don't shame me.
I just had a weak moment. Honestly, before we came on, I posted a couple things on Instagram this morning, and I'm not going to lie. You try not to react to this stuff, but sometimes you're like, you post something on social media and you get a dumb comment. You're like, oh, for fuck's sake. For fuck's sake.
Yeah, that's why I don't think I've posted anything in over a month. I just don't. I've told you before offline. I'm like this close to just yanking down everything, and I don't. I'll just keep running the podcast and doing the stuff on YouTube. I have zero interest in doing anything on those other platforms.
I try to post up something to motivate people to get healthier. There was a post this morning about. It said basically, you can't make me sick. Cigarettes make me sick. Junk foods make me sick. It wasn't saying people don't get diseases without this stuff, and it wasn't saying people don't die without this stuff. But there was a bigger point here, and somebody just went off, and I'm like, for fuck's sake, could you all just holster your stupidity? I mean. But I was a little bit on edge, and then the internet wasn't working. So I was like, I'm just going to quit Friday.
Yeah.
All right. Is it bad, Amanda? Is it bad to force progress? I did 8 reps last week and want 9, but only get 8. Is it okay to pause and add an extra? I get this a lot, Amanda, where folks don't hit the rep goal and they might pause, re-rack, and go get another rep or two. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. It's not for progressive overload. If anything, it'll add a little bit of hypertrophy mojo to the mix. So there's nothing wrong with it. But, that's not really forcing progression. Your progression is still going to be on that set of 8 where you're trying to get 9. So no downsides. Make sure your form is good. But just know and understand that might add a little bit of hypertrophy mojo, but that's not a replacement for progression on the main lift. Anything to add to that, Robert?
Nope. You answered everything I would have said, Steve.
All right, Julian. How's it going? Julian's a client of mine. Justin, Ontario lockdown. Yeah, I had a lot of clients in Ontario get kicked in the proverbial pouch this week, and it's very, very frustrating. Very frustrating. I did see a video. I'm not sure if you guys saw this. A video this morning on Instagram from France where a farmer backed up a huge, huge piece of machinery. It wasn't a dump truck, but it was something that looked like a dump truck, but about twice as long, attached to his tractor. Backed it up to the administrative building and dumped all of his trash in front of the administrative building. Fire hoses or water hoses trying to get them to go away. That was like an ant trying to piss on your shoe to get you to go away. Have you seen that video, Robert?
No, I haven't. I'm wondering when there's going to be enough like common everyday citizens pissed off and they're just going to start rioting. Not rioting, but start protesting in a civil manner. Not all the nonsense that we had here in the States last summer with just things that are destroying property. But when are people going to kind of like just start banding together and telling the government to fuck off? They can't keep doing all this stuff.
Well, I've been waiting for that to happen, and I think generally it's not going to happen. One of my clients from Scotland was talking this morning and saying the world government has basically done what Stalin couldn't in less than a year, and that was in a complete reliance on the government, on this socialist agenda. Whether they're purposely or not, or not purposely trying to bring about socialism, the government control is way too much globally,
and tech control too.
Yeah. Bree, Mongolia lockdown, you literally can't leave the house. You can walk to get grocery, not drive. Let's increase our exposure. Let's increase our likelihood by walking that will cross another human being. I don't know about you, Robert, but I don't cross too many other human beings when I'm in my car.
Nope.
That's the problem with this stuff. You know, COVID aside, that's the big problem here, is that it's stuff like this that makes no sense.
Common sense has left the building.
You know, if we were taking a common sense approach to all this and it was reasonable, but I don't know about you, Robert, but if I walk to the store in that 1.5 miles or 2 miles, I'd probably pass 4 to 5 other people walking to the store. But when I drive, I usually don't pass people.
Yep.
All right. So anyway, Amanda P., if I'm trying to build muscle and want bigger legs, is bike riding going to help or hinder? Neither, really. I mean, you would have to do an excessive amount of bike riding for it to be a recovery issue. You know, an hour a week, 2 hours a week is probably fine. It's not really going to help and hinder over the long run. You know, and do what you love, Amanda. It's a physical activity, a physical pursuit, especially for women. Robert, you can agree or disagree, but when it comes to women, they do a lot of bullshit in the gym on average. A lot of, you know, fluff and pump stuff, right?
Booty bands and all that bullshit, yeah.
Yeah, I saw a video this morning that I shared with my wife, which was absolutely ridiculous. And, you know, if anything, that constant stress and tension is going to help you. You know, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, Robert?
Yeah, I would agree. Especially like if it's long continuous cycling, it actually can increase. And this is something that's really good. Even if you're just doing like higher rep work, like the metabolic stress, it can actually increase the capillary density in the muscle tissue. So your body will create extra capillaries, so increase blood flow to the muscles, which can pay dividends towards getting a bigger pump later on. And you know, we've got enough data now to show that the pump is at least a supporting mechanism for hypertrophy. It may not be an absolute direct driver, but it is a complementary mechanism by which it can support muscle growth. So, and you know, bike riding, if it's a short leisurely bike ride, like you're just strictly on flat land, you're doing it on a day after leg day, that could actually promote recovery because it can increase circulation, help clear out some of those metabolites that get generated, and supply some nutrient-rich blood to those muscles. So as long as you're not, you know, grinding your legs into the ground, doing like uphill biking or, you know, trail biking for 3, 4, 5 hours every day of the week, you're not going to have to worry about much as far as it hindering recovery or growth.
I am going to try to find the post, and you know, I hesitate to do so because I don't want to pick on this one. Peanut, stop, please. I don't want to. I'm not trying to pick on this woman, but she has 40,000 followers on. Here we go. I'm just going to do it. You guys can, you know. I hate that I have to always say I'm not picking on people, but this came up on my feed, okay, and I'm like.
It's doing absolutely nothing. I mean, sure, it's burning calories, but it's as far as it like toning muscles or doing anything, it's completely fucking useless.
Yeah, I mean, this is a completely fucking useless stuff you see on the internet. And yes, it's burning calories, but if you want to go down that road, you're better off just doing a Stairmaster. You'll get more out of it. So,
yeah,
you know, it's say women. You know, I'm not trying to be cruel, but women tend to get sucked into that void, and that's not helping. It's just not helping. All right, Daniel, changing exercise order to avoid waiting for equipment. Daniel, that's a very good question. What I like to do is if I'm at a commercial gym, I like to keep an alternative holstered. Here's what I mean. Like if I give a client dips and a push-up superset, the push-ups are something you can drop on the floor and do anywhere, right? So if the dip station is taken, go do dumbbell flies or go do cable crossovers and superset with push-ups. Bench press, let's say that is taken, go do decline bench, dumbbell bench, incline, dumbbell bench, an equivalent exercise. Some of it's not always possible. Like let's say I wanted to deadlift and there was a deadlift platform or only one deadlift area and two schmucks are, dick-dawing around posting selfies and they're going to be a while. Instead of, nut punching them, I'd probably do RDLs or dumbbell RDLs or something like that. I don't like changing exercise order if you start putting isolations before compounds or anything else before compounds. So anything else to add to that, Robert?
No, it might just be a little bit more difficult. I mean, depending on how frequently you have to swap around your exercises while you're waiting for equipment, it could be difficult to measure progress because obviously if you're going, like say you're doing hamstrings, typically you start with RDLs and then you go to leg curls. Okay, so you do that for 4 weeks, but then the next 2 weeks, something's messed up and you decide to put leg curls before RDLs. It's gonna be hard to measure your progression because your hamstrings are already going to be taxed, and so your ability to overload or use the same weights that you were using for the RDLs is going to be not as much. Like you're not going to be able to use the same weight that you did the first 4 weeks in your training program because your hamstrings are already going to be pre-fatigued from the leg curl. So you have to be a little bit careful. Like if it's a one-off thing, sure, that's fine. It's not going to have that big of a deal. But if you're trying to be consistent with your training and constantly beat the logbook, you need to keep things pretty strict as far as the order of your exercises.
So, Robert, I just was trying to get ahead of the class a little bit. We got a question coming up on a supplement, and I was curious because I've never heard it before. But we won't get ahead of the curve there. Josh just started a bro split. I feel great so far. Do bro splits need deloads? Deload is generally, it doesn't really hinder on the type of split. We look at things like weekly volume. You have to look at things like what's beating you up. It could be a specific exercise. Squats could be just tearing you up. Deadlifts could be tearing you up. So it's really not, wake up, Peanut, you can do it. Sorry, she's snoring like a fool today. It's not really the split generally that's going to cause the issue because if you have like a leg day, you get 7 days to recover. So generally recovery is a little bit better body part per body part. So I don't know. Robert, what are your thoughts?
It's entirely dependent on how hard you're training, what's your recovery like. I mean, you could, if you're, like the vast majority of people that go to the gym and just kind of dick around, you never really need a deload. But if you are constantly pushing for progressive overload and you couple that with maybe some additional life stress or a few nights of bad sleep, yeah, you're probably going to eventually need a deload because your body's going to accumulate so much fatigue to a certain point. Your fatigue is going to outpace your body's systemic recovery ability. So yes, eventually you will need to do that. But can I give you you should deload X amount of times all the time, like every 3.5 weeks of training, you need to deload? No, there's not a blanket recommendation like that. It's going to have to be a little bit more reactive.
If you're an intermediate and you're pushing around a lot of weight every week, and some of the experts would probably encourage you, and I'm kind of going towards that camp, that fourth week lighter moving forward when you have 20, 30 years of your lifting career left is probably a good idea. Is it needed right now for recovery? No. Is it good for pacing yourself in the long run? Probably so. So just keep that in mind. Sam, are 3 sets of rear delt work enough to keep my shoulder problems at bay? I don't know what your shoulder problems are, so I'm just going to swipe that from the record. But I will say between 3 sets of rear delt work and a bunch of rows, that's a pretty good amount of work on your rear delts. So You should be fine. Danny wants to know when the next master class is. I just talked to Robert before the video. You know, we got our supplement creatine plus peanut. You really need to wake up, buddy. You can do it. You can do it. Sorry, she's snoring like a bear.
It's not coming through on my end, so I don't know if that helps. Like, we don't hear it online.
Sorry. Sometimes she just licks her ass for an hour straight, and it's like, could you just stop? Could you stop? So we got Creatine Plus coming out. The labels arrived at the facility yesterday, and that's probably going to be shipping maybe within a week. We're trying, so our time should be freed up a little bit to do a little bit more. Robert, is in the position where he's trying to figure out whether to take on more work from others or put more time into his own pursuits. And, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things we'd like to do together, and I'm going to let Robert decide if it's a good value for his time. And we'll see. We need to get another master class up. So anything itching to talk about, Robert? Anything that you're itching to talk about?
Oh man, there's so many things. Like we could do. So what this thus far we've done what nutrition for muscle building. We've done the creatine master class. I wonder, should we do a training one? You think, just to kind of like we'll have a revolving cycle, like one dedicated to supplement, one on a nutrition topic, one on a training topic. We could go around like that. That might
probably. Yeah, probably so. I'd like to do something training.
All about progressive overload, Mike. Maybe we could discuss like every form of progressive overload and which exercises they're best fit to, or something like that. That might be a fun one.
Yeah, I mean, time under tension, rest between sets, progression, exercise progression, which isn't something many people talk about. So
yeah,
we'll try to get it scheduled. Anu, hey, how's it going, Anu? Heard a lot of buzz. Here it is, Robert. I thought this was a troll comment at first, so I had to Google it. Turkesterone, but I Googled it and it's on Amazon. What is it?
Turkesterone, yeah, it is a metabolite of 20-hydroxyecdysone. So ecdysteroids are basically steroid hormones of insects and certain plants that's responsible for cell growth division. So since it's responsible for growth and anabolism in plants and some insects, the theory is that, hey, a human ingests this orally and it causes them to grow muscle. Increases muscle protein synthesis, could enhance recovery, performance, and muscle growth. Turkesterone and a lot of these plant things, so things like laxagenin, regular 20-hydroxyecdysone or ecdysteroid, the bioavailability is really low. The human research on these is lacking substantially. If anything, I wouldn't recommend turkesterone. First off, finding a quality source of it is difficult. Most companies aren't packaging it with a bioavailability enhancer, something like an estrogen. There's next to no research on it in humans. Second, it's not really worth the money. You could look at something like a 20-hydroxyecdysone or ecdysteroid, or ecdysone. It goes by a couple of different names. So ecdysone, 20-hydroxyecdysone. So you can look for that. You need about 500 milligrams. There is a couple of studies in humans using 500 milligram dose of the 20-hydroxyecdysone, noting improvements in lean muscle mass and overall performance in resistance training. Check out advancedmolecularlabs.com. I've got an article discussing all of the benefits of 20-hydroxyecdysone, and I discussed the supplement at length about, what do the studies actually say, how does it work, all of those things. I wouldn't really trust turkesterone though. Yeah, it's an analog of the compound that's already been shown to work in humans.
So I'm glad Jen, you asked that question, because I don't think we've never addressed it here on Massive Iron Live, and it was a troll post. I thought it was some made up name. Daniel, opinion on Jack Daniel's single barrel. I live in the Bourbon Belt. I could spit and hit Kentucky. And there's so many good whiskeys and bourbons around here. It's unbelievable. So,
yeah,
Jack Daniels, I've not tried the single barrel. Jack Daniels is not usually on my radar. Have you heard of it, Robert?
Yeah, I have. So Jack Daniels is called a Tennessee whiskey, but the way it's produced, it abides by all of the classifications of what a bourbon. So, if you look at the mash bill and the way it's stored and processed and all that, it technically is a bourbon, but because they've kind of cornered this term of Tennessee whiskey, they've created their own market. So they've kind of changed the game in that sense. Like they're not playing by the rest of the rules of bourbon. So yes, it is bourbon, but it's Tennessee whiskey, but it abides by all the prerequisites for it to be considered a bourbon. Regular Jack Daniels is something somebody mixes with Coke, when they're in college. Gentleman Jack is a step up. That's actually my uncle's preferred whiskey. I like it. It's okay, but I like something a little stronger. I think that's around 80 proof, as is regular Jack Daniels. The single barrel, if you listen to a lot of the whiskey, like the whiskey YouTubers or the ones that really know, like the professional whiskey reviewers and bourbon enthusiasts, they are very high on the Jack Daniels single barrel, especially the single barrel proof, which is over 100, like 115, 116. I need to get a bottle of that. I think it's around 55 to $60 for a 750 milliliter one, at least by the liquor stores here in Texas. So that's one. My bourbon collection is expanding. I've got I don't know how I want to admit how many different varieties of bourbon I have right now, but that is one that I do need to add. If you go look up Fred Minnick or the Mash and Drum, those two YouTube channels, and those are ones they'll give you some good insight about Jack Daniel's single barrel and their barrel proof one as well. But it comes highly recommended. I just haven't sunk any money into that one yet.
So I appreciate the question, Daniel. Yeah, I haven't been paying any attention to that world. What I typically do, like this was the last big investment I had, Whistle Pig 12 year, and I had this for like 18 months. That's how long it takes me to go through a bottle. And it's funny, around here locally, I believe it's 130 to 160 a bottle.
Mm-hmm.
And when I drove back to Wisconsin, Robert, it's like $79 a bottle. So
Wow.
I don't know. Even though we're right in the middle of things here, it seems to be more expensive, which is kind of odd. But this is gone. My baby's gone. I'm looking for a replacement. And Robert, if you haven't tried this is Whistle Pig is super smooth, but I wouldn't say, a year after, spend a year and a half with it, it's super smooth, which I really like.
Mm-hmm.
But it kind of, because of that, it can kind of feel almost watery or not as intense in a good way. When you're drinking a whiskey or a rye or a bourbon and it's got a little complexity, sometimes it's almost too smooth. So
agreed. Yeah, that's like Blanton's. There's more interesting and less overpriced whiskeys on the market.
Yeah. So what do we got here? BKS. How much drinking is okay if I go out with friends on a Friday night? As long as you don't got anything to do on Saturday, let it rip. The only thing I don't like is when drinking impedes, halts your next day. I'm not telling you what to do, but I never drink to the point, like even on days where I'm drinking a 6-pack of strong IPAs, I get up the next day and I run for 2 hours. Not because I'm Superman, but because I stop before I get to the point where it's going to destroy my next day. So that's where I stop.
Yeah.
And I don't imagine, Robert, you ever get slobber knockered.
Not in a long, long time. There used to be this thing called Barks for Beers back when the world was normal, where it was once a month. It benefited the Divine Canine Dog Foundation here in Austin, and all the local breweries chipped in. So you paid $30 for this thing called a pause port, instead of like dog paws, instead of passport. And you pay $30 or $35 for this, and it has 25 breweries on it, and you've got the entire month of May. And you go to a brewery, you show them the card, and you get a free thing of beer. And we would hit like 5 or 6 of those in a day. And I don't like light beers. I don't like IPAs, Pilsners, pale ales, any of that stuff. I like dark beer. So every brewer we're going to, I'm drinking a beer that's like somewhere between 8 and 12%. those days get a little rough, or we get together with our friends, the Nips, that are kind of, showed us all around Austin, all the distilleries in here. When we get together with them on the occasional weekend, and I typically man the cocktail bar because I'm known for making a damn good old fashioned and a cocktail Sandy and I kind of came up with called the Dirty Polak, which is a Polish namesake for us. It's
make sure you say you're Polish so you don't get cancel culture coming after you.
Yes, I am Polish. Last name is Shinetsky, so if cancel culture can suck a big one. So the Dirty Polak is another fun cocktail that's made. But yeah, things get dicey on those weekends, but they're within walking distance of our house. They're just around the corner, so that's a good thing. But no, I don't like feeling that way to where you're so shit-faced you can't remember or function the next day. That it's been 10, 15 years since I've been like that. I have zero desire. If you get a little buzz, that's fine. I don't know if you should be drinking to get smashed every day. If you just want to take a little bit of the edge off or get the brain juices flowing if you're writing an article or something like I use it for every now and then, that's fine. Check out as far as quantity, that's going to kind of be dependent on how much you're used to drinking alcohol. Protein synthesis is suppressed in the immediacy. But if you're only having like 2 or 3 drinks on a Friday night, it's not going to be something you need to worry about.
One thing I always do before bed on any night where I have at least one drink is drink water, usually 10 ounces of water. I just feel better. For any of you that really want to dive into the world of beer, there's 2 favorites that I have that I want to share with you guys. If you can find these, ignore the fact that this is an IPA because it does not taste like an IPA. This is really in a category all by itself. It's called Dogfish 120-minute IPA. And it is 17, 18%. It has this fluorescent color. You can see the bottles over here. They got this green cap. The taste is so rich and complex, and it's not bitter. The taste is just off the charts amazing. And at 17%, you really having one of these, it's $12 a bottle, which probably will shock people, but you got to remember it's 17, 18%. So it's like having 4 regular beers.
Yep.
And plus you're getting this is my all-time favorite beer, and I've tried everything under the sun. It doesn't taste like a New England IPA. It doesn't taste like a double IPA. It doesn't taste like anything that I can really say. So give that a try. Try to find one on the internet. It's worth the experiment. If you like a darker beer, locally there's Warped Wing Brewery that puts out one called Whiskey Rebellion. Ooh. This is a stout that was aged in bourbon barrels. These guys were doing this before it got super popular, like super off the charts. Like everybody was doing a stout in a bourbon barrel. And the flavor in this is absolutely my favorite. Absolutely my favorite. This is 11%. You can see the bad boy right here. Beautiful label as well. 11%. You get you one of these Whiskey Rebellions and a Dogfish 120. You got 2 beers. You are good for the evening.
Yep.
So you're good.
That's why I like my higher proof bourbons. You only need a little bit, and then you're set.
Yeah, you can kill that Whiskey Rebellion with a good cigar, and your night is a beautiful evening. All right. Alex Bromley preaches the same thing as you drink. The wider the base, the higher the ceiling, he says. I actually had somebody mention that to me, recently. And, one thing about most of the strength coaches or most of the hypertrophy coaches, whether it's guys like Alex Bromley or Dr. Mike, they all kind of come to the same conclusions, the same 90% over time. So it's the guys in the fringe that don't see the 90% that kind of trigger me at times, because I'm wondering why they can't see the 90%.
Exactly.
Bilal, hello. Hope you guys are doing all right. Bilal's a freak, one of our insiders, one of my favorite people to work with. Neo is a client as well. How's it going in Minnesota, Neo? Your Twins, the first game of the season, Brewers and Twins, we came back of the night to crush the Twinkies, and that was a beautiful day. Journey to Jacked. How do you hit your protein requirements in prison without giving head for extra chicken nuggets? How do you I was hesitating on like when we get comments like this, we don't usually allow them on. We usually just mute the person, but this was a very impressive contribution to the discussion. So I don't know, but I would like to encourage you to find out. Why is it so hard to feel the back muscles when lifting?
That's a common problem for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, I just focus on, like, everybody will tell you use the hands as hooks, and then you'll hear drive the elbows back. The way I try to describe it is think of somebody's head behind you, and to generate power, think of doing a martial arts strike where you're driving your elbows back. I think about actually driving the shoulder and elbow back at the same time. If you do that, you can kind of feel the lat and the back muscles working. That's the best I have. That's the best I have to offer. Chris still has my favorite avatar.
Yep.
Thanks, Chris. Speaking of Avatar, are we ever going to get an Avatar Part 2?
I never saw the first one, so I have no idea.
Robert.
Steve.
It was like it was a movie that took the world by storm. It was like going to be the new Star Wars,
and then it wasn't. And I mean, it's the exact same thing over and over. Isn't it just like the Dances with Wolves or the Last Samurai or something? Like you've got this indigenous population, it gets overrun by the technologically superior people. I wasn't interested in seeing it. I don't know.
All right, it's got some space stuff in it. That's why I like it.
Sorry.
Sorry, Norris. We can't I don't know why Facebook and YouTube why these platforms can't share emojis. All we see is boxes, but appreciate you tuning in. Norris runs a good podcast. I've been on his podcast. Good guy, great lifter. So if you guys want to check out his podcast, I hope he'll see this and drop it in the comments. Pennywise, any advice on progressions based on reps time instead of weight? Because I lift stones and logs and there are no small increments. Pina, wake up. You can do it. Any advice on progressions based on reps and time instead of weight? Rest pause. I mean, rest in between efforts, or, I'm not sure what your end goal is.
Or even what exercises you're doing. I mean, you could try increasing the range of motion on certain things, or like if you're doing lunges by holding a stone or something like that, you could do like a deficit lunge where you stand up on a platform, and that way you can get into deeper knee and hip flexion and get a bigger stretch on the quads and glutes that way. It's kind of hard without knowing what exact exercises or what your program looks like.
Yeah, we would need to know a little bit more. I mean, since you can't increase the resistance, the only thing you can you can decrease rest in between sets, which basically creates a greater volume compared to time.
Yep.
You could do like 1 minute or 2 minute blocks where you try to do as many reps as you can during that block. Or you can just simply do a set, rest 30 seconds, do another set. You could restrict rest generally like that. I understand the sabotage your diet point very well. I believe that was earlier. All right, wake up. You can do it. Okay, you can do it. Wake up. Sorry, my dog's been snoring like a chainsaw for an hour. Gyms reopened 2 weeks ago in Quebec and closed again yesterday. It's becoming a joke. I'd like to call it a joke, but it's more like a tragedy. It's
this farce has been going on for way too long.
And I honestly don't know why people aren't pushing back. I think there's a lot of pressure to think one way. And I'm not an anti-vax guy, and I know neither are you, but more like let's just think this through and entertain all points of view, in all reasonable points of view. In this culture we live in, just doesn't seem like certain ones are welcome.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, Daniel donated $50 for Robert to take off his shirt. Robert, let me see here, Robert. Hold on one second, folks. Hold on one second, Daniel. You're going to get your money's worth.
I can only imagine what Steve is pulling up right now.
Let's see.
Dear God.
I don't know if this... Take it off, Robert.
I'm not taking my shirt off.
Come on. I got striptease music here.
Not happening. Not happening.
Come on, Robert. Take it off.
No.
Take it off, Robert. Oh my goodness! Is that really
I am with somebody that very much enjoys my clothes on. Like I don't even like taking my shirt off when I go swimming. I don't walk around my house with my shirt off unless I'm going shower. I've never, like, even since I was a kid, I've never been somebody to take my shirt off. So this is nothing like I don't know. I like my clothes on. I'm weird.
I will say when I'm driving down the road and
Daniel, if you feel ripped off, I will refund your money personally. We will refund your money. That's.
Well, he'll send you a pair of his underwear.
I'm not taking my shirt off though.
I will say when I'm driving down the road and I see that 55-year-old man with mowing the lawn with his shirt off and his just this watermelon beer belly hanging out and no cares in the world, I have a little bit of envy for that guy because. I mean, he just, he's in his lane and he knows where he's going.
Yeah.
But I'm not in that same lane.
No, I mean, I even sleep with t-shirt and shorts on too. I've never been like I'm gonna sleep buck ass naked or anything like that. I guess I don't know. I'm weird. I don't know. Whatever.
No, I sleep naked. For those of you that really care.
Yeah.
Faz lifts. Afternoon, gents. This is taking me way back. Faz is many years ago on the Muscle and Brawn Forum. He was one of the OG's original members, and now we both have successful training services. So really good to see him and really good to see his success. Yeah. What's up, guys? Long time no see. Been working like crazy, but just moved to an apartment and time to train seriously.
Awesome.
Good, man. I hope things settle down for you and I hope you can get after it.
Whatever. So, yeah, we've seen NADPAD and then Faz lifts, some old people that have come back after a while. What happened to Ben on Adventures? He used to be always in the feed. Where did he go?
I don't know. I don't want to talk about his personal life, but I know he had a relationship change. And maybe a direction change in life. Hard to say.
That works.
Since collagen is essentially protein with high glycine, can supplementing with only glycine give the same benefits as collagen?
I mean, there's more than just glycine in collagen. It's low in leucine, but it's also high in proline and hydroxyproline, which you're not going to get as much of in some other protein sources. So could supplementing with additional glycine be beneficial? Yes. Do I think it's the same as supplementing with collagen? No, because collagen is more than just glycine. It's one of these things where the whole is greater than the sum of the parts kind of thing. But I mean, if you don't want to spend money on a really expensive, i.e. overpriced collagen supplement, just go to the store and get those little like Knox or Nord gelatin packets or like the sugar-free instant Jello mix. It's the exact same thing. The hydrolyzed collagen is just gelatin. That's all it is. You can save money and enjoy some really tasty Jello too. Either way, that works. Thanks,
Robert. Julian. Even people like Austin Dunham, super built calisthenics athlete, talks about using barbell for legs.
Yep.
And adds lots of weights to his calisthenics. So becomes effectively weightlifting. I would say if somebody came to me and wanted to train for calisthenics, I'd definitely put them on a resistance training program. I've had this debate over the years so many times. someone will come to me with a specific sport and they'll want to know how to improve in their sport. And I will tell them I only know from a lifting standpoint, but you need to get a lot stronger than you are now. And sometimes people will say that has no application in sport X.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you, when I went off to college, even though I love sports, I was very unathletic. And in 18 months of attacking barbell and dumbbell exercises and bodyweight exercises, I came back. I didn't intend to, it wasn't my goal to improve my athletic performance, but I came back, trained another year. I started playing softball in a softball league, and I was crushing home runs where I'd never crushed home runs before. My sprint speed, I was when I joined the military, when we do the sprinting, the platoon sprinting, I was the fastest guy in my platoon. And it sounds like a lot of bullshit, but when it came to playing basketball, which I loved to do at the time, I could grab the rim. My vertical jump went up by 8 inches. So athletically, barbell and dumbbell training improved my vertical jump in 18 months by over 8 inches. It dramatically improved my sprint speed and dramatically improved my ability to crush a baseball. And I will say I was a wrestler in high school, but a mediocre one. And when I came back, my wrestling, because of my extra strength, it made my skill as a wrestler even, probably 5 times better. I was hard to beat where I was easy to beat before. So, Robert, why do you think it is that there's a certain percentage of people in athletics who believe that resistance training doesn't have value for their sport? I mean, think back during the 70s where they thought resistance training made you muscle bound and didn't help with baseball. And now all these baseball players have pretty damn good, solid physiques.
Yeah, I think that's just what it was. I forgot what the name of the actual sports scientist was or the coach, but he said that, resistance training actually reduced flexibility and, impaired your ability to be an explosive athlete, when we know that's not true. Even the research he conducted showed the exact opposite of the point he was trying to prove, but he just dug his heels in. Kind of like Gary Taubes does with the whole insulin hypothesis and fat loss and paleo diet bullshit and all of that stuff. You need to kind of evolve with the science and be willing to admit when you're wrong about something. But I think it's one of those things that it's just kind of so ingrained in people's mind, like you have to do cardio to lose weight kind of things, or you have to eat low carb in order to lose weight. It's these old things that have kind of ingrained themselves into the collective consciousness of society, and it takes a lot to undo that.
If you took a golfer, I don't know, some kid that was good at high school golf, and I told somebody I'm going to have him strength train for 2 years, there would be a fear that somehow he would wake up bulky and big. But in reality, when you look at natural bodybuilders, they're not bulky and big. We might look at adding 15 pounds of muscle, and it might add 40 yards onto his drive.
Mm-hmm.
So I think some of this is tied to the somehow fake belief in your head that you're going to get so big that it's going to impede performance. What's more important, volume or weight on the bar? Progressive overload. Progressive overload 100%, and the experts all agree. Progressive overload, consistency, and hard work are the key. There's a good podcast. All you really need to do is search Revive Stronger, Dr. Mike, Lyle McDonald, any of them, and search volume, and they'll agree that, Brad Schoenfeld did volume basically, or a study on volume, basically showing there was no end limit to the benefit of volume, meaning you could theoretically add more volume over time. We haven't found the end of the benefit of volume, but that doesn't mean that it's practical. It won't beat up your body, and that it's even necessarily needed to get to your max natural potential. And all these guys will agree. A lot of them, from what I understand, agree that, spend your first couple of years progressive overload, hard work, and then at that point, if you want to add volume, it might be better to cycle the addition of volume, because you can't sustain progression on volume. You can't continue to increase your time into the gym to the point where you're trying to do 4 or 5 hours in the gym to get extra sets. Number one, you're going to beat up your body. Number two, by then you're going to be, probably, if you're training all right, you're going to be at 90% of your natural potential to begin with. So the ROI is basically mute, makes the point mute. Does that make sense, Robert?
100%.
All right. Billy Gunn. How long would it take a 482-pound man to get jacked? Muscle building is muscle building, right? So obviously you need to lose weight to save your life. That's on the table already. The only thing you can do is focus on what you can control. Muscle building, a reasonable program. It would take you as long as it probably take anybody else to get jacked. I've seen guys do it, Robert, where they've lost 250 pounds and they look great at the end, other than the loose skin. And I have a little bit of loose skin from my weight loss. So, if you took a beginner and it took him 3 to 4 years to get jacked, how long would it take you to get jacked? About the same. During that time, you could peel the fat off and you'd probably be right about where they are. Agree or disagree, Robert?
Agreed.
So just get your membership, a good program, stay the course, and you'll be good to go. Brendan Bowman, will a 5x10 build more size? No. Even if you have to use a lighter weight. Lighter weight's not an equation with size. Lighter weight has no place at the table with size discussions. So will a 5x10 build more size than a 3x8, even if you have to use a lighter weight? It's about progression, no matter what rep range, what weight you're using. You can't stay at the same weight and expect to make progress. It doesn't work like that. There's no progress at all.
Agreed.
Anything to add to that, Robert?
No, it's just a different rep range. You might respond better to 5x10 for leg movements, where you like 3x8 on bench more. It's going to be more muscle group specific, exercise specific, and just personal preference. What do you enjoy training in? Do you like doing 8 reps? Do you like doing 10 reps? How much weight do you have access to? At a certain point, if you run out of weight, you're going to have to start going into higher rep ranges. So it's not one is not going to. Both could be equally effective or equally ineffective, depending on how hard you train in the gym and are you using progressive overload or not.
Thanks, Robert. Milo asks, how can I join the Iron Inside group? You go to my website, superlivingtoday.com, which is right above my head, and search Insider in the search button. I'm actually working hard behind the scenes to change, upgrade, improve the Insider. I want the Insider to have everything. And right now it has a lot of good things, but not as much as I want. I'm working on things such as a ability to generate meal plans. I've been trying to find a way to have people to have access to all my programs. So I'm trying to upgrade the Insider, but you can still join, have access to the app, the private forum. That is just go to the website and search Insider. Maybe he means shoulder blades. That's what I'm assuming. Wake up, Peanut. You can do it. You can do it. Come on. Sorry, guys. Hate to interrupt every 5 minutes. My dog's obnoxious today. Probably means shoulder blades. So, Michael Williams, is there an optimal time before or after workout that you should take supplements?
It's entirely dependent on what supplements we're talking about. What supplements you're taking, what was your pre-workout and your post-workout meals like. This is way too generic of a question. Something like creatine, big picture is to just take your 5 grams a day every day. You want to get a little bit more optimal with it, take it immediately post-workout with a high carbohydrate meal. Stuff like multivitamins, anti-inflammatory stuff, super high dose antioxidant things like green supplements, multivitamins, something like N-acetylcysteine, joint formula, stuff like that. Take that 3 to 4 hours away from training, because those things can, since they have such powerful antioxidative and anti-inflammatory effects, those can blunt some of the hormetic effects of exercise. So it would blunt some of the beneficial adaptations you were trying to achieve from intense physical activity. But if you can give me a specific example of what supplement you're looking for, Michael, like caffeine, you want to take it, 30 to 60 minutes before your training session. Same thing with citrulline. Something like a greens powder, if you want to waste your money on that, you don't want to take that immediately pre or post workout. You want to take that 3, 4, or 5 hours away from it.
Thanks, Robert. Bree said that bench cue is awesome. For anybody that missed it, basically, it was the bench cue of rowing the bar to your chest. Yeah. And it's a bench cue that I don't think, you'll hear some play about it in the powerlifting world, but it's a good, while you don't have to, while you're not actually rowing the bar to your chest, it helps you stay tight and packed. So it's definitely one to remember. Stian, hello from Norway. Papa Ra, Tabata sets, would those work for improving cardio? I know at one point my old compadre, Mark Lobliner, would talk about Tabata every other workout. I don't have much experience with Tabata, Roberts, but I know it is shorter or briefer, intense periods of elevated intensity.
Yeah, it's basically 4-minute blocks of 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off. So 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off. You do that 8 times, it leads to 4 minutes. There's some studies showing that it increased energy expenditure, a little bit of fat loss. The thing is, when those 20 seconds are on, you have to be doing a 10 out of 10, because you'll see these studies that show interval training is as effective as steady state cardio. The caveat is you've got to be going at like a 9.5 or 10 out of 10 on the RPE scale for those 20, 30 seconds that you're on. If anything less than that, and you're not really getting the maximal benefit you're not getting the actual true benefit of what those high intensity intervals are going to do for you. So yes, they can improve cardio. I think to do that, though, you need to have a pretty solid base level of cardiovascular fitness. If you're a couch potato that's never done any kind of cardio before, Tabatas are not for you. This is for the seasoned, already fit individual that's looking to, further condense their training while being able to push themselves to a high threshold of athletic output.
I will say, in running, I've been running for about 3 years now. It took me 2 years to figure out, what my heart rate zones were from experience. And that sounds ridiculous, but I'm talking about sustaining a certain heart rate. Sprint speed would be pretty equatable to the top RPMs, the top output on a Tabata set. Would that not, Robert?
Yeah, a sprint by definition is you're hauling ass as fast as you can. So yeah, absolutely.
So the level below that, I learned through running how to sustain that for 90 minutes, elevated heart rate, but that took 2 years of training hours a day to get to that point. But the point being, it took me a long time, a lot of training to figure out what zone I was in, right, and how to sustain that zone.
Yep.
And to Robert's point, to be able to sustain the zone needed for Tabata to be effective, you probably need to be in pretty good shape to begin with and have a good understanding of those zones.
Yeah, you can work your way up to it, but it's gonna take time.
There was a lot of hype for a while, Robert, about it being, Tabata basically being the holy grail of cardio. And, number one, it takes away from the enjoyment factor. Do what you love. That's going to be the long-term recipe for success. Yeah. Plus, Robert, I'm not a fan for the general public of encouraging that a super intense form of exercise.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. And plus it's also going to dip into your recovery abilities more. So the greater intensity something is, the more recovery it's going to take. So yes, HIIT training could be, comparable to steady state. It's going to save you time, but it's also going to dig deeper into your recovery reserves than just going on like a 45-minute walk or hike would too.
Yeah, for top level athletes, they know what they're in for. But the rest of us, I just don't like the added risk of injury, because I believe that's all it really does. Will actually made it to one of these. How's it going, Will? Appreciate you joining us. How would you program 1x5 deadlift, example, 400 pounds in warm-ups? You mean warming up for a 400? Instead of that, what I would do is bar 1 to 2 by 10, 135 by 8, 225 by 5, 275 by 3, 315 by 1, 365 by 1. That's how I would do it. That's a lot of warm-ups, but that's the way I usually you don't want to go more than somewhere around 10% increments to warm up your central nervous system. So give or take somewhere along those lines. Is it true that isolation exercises like bicep curls, side laterals respond better to higher reps? Okay, here's the thing. Like an isolation exercise is not inherently leverage friendly, right? It's not. By leverage friendly, in a compound exercise, you have multiple big muscle groups working together to move a weight. In an isolation exercise, like a side lateral raise, that's a more unnatural movement. That's not a strong movement. Like if you were going to punch somebody in the chin, you wouldn't do so with a side lateral raise. It just wouldn't be a good source of power generation. Is that a fair way to describe it, Robert?
Agreed.
So if you're trying to do low rep sets with an exercise that's not super leverage friendly, not super powerful, it's kind of counterproductive. It's just not valuable. An isolation exercise is going to have a very limited progression window. So people will ask, why do you use them? Well, you use them, number one, because you can't continue to do compounds over and over and over again in the workout. You're going to beat up your body over time. So they're kind of like the last 20%. On compounds, that's where you want to feel a muscle. You want to use as much control as you can. And, they come to you. So it is easier to progress in an exercise when the rep range is higher. That's simple math. To a 5-rep set, that's like a 20% increase. Adding a rep to a 15-rep set, that's like a 6.7% increase. So that's one reason. Any thoughts on this, Robert?
Yeah, I just think like at a basic standpoint, the reason maybe the higher reps seem more responsive is that let's think about the bicep curl and the side lateral. These are relatively short muscles, small muscle groups, and they're going through a relatively short range of motion. So if you're only doing 8 reps on it, compared to something like a squat where you're going really deep, you're getting a tremendous stretch on the quads and glutes, then you're standing back up. I mean, the range of motion and the degree of travel, the amount of travel that you're going through is significantly more, many times more than what the bicep is doing, going from straight and then flexing it up, or the side lateral going from down to your side up to here and then back down. So the higher reps, what those are also doing is that it's increasing the total amount of tension, the total amount of work that your muscles are doing, making it more comparable to something that you could achieve by doing just something like 8 reps on a row or a bench press or a squat or something like that. So that it may be part of the reason is that your muscles are doing an equivalent amount of work that's something that a bigger muscle group can achieve in a lower rep range due to just the differences in the overall range of motion that the muscles are going through. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and just you can get by with both, Shashank. If you're noticing results in better progression with one set of rep ranges, then just work that. They can both be equally effective.
One thing I like to do, and one thing I've been transitioning more to over time, is supersetting with isolation exercises or lighter exercises. For example, a lot of my clients, I give them dips and push-up supersets, or dumbbell flies and push-up supersets, or cable crossovers and push-up supersets. Because while you might not necessarily be able to add a lot of reps over time to the isolation, The superset exercise, like a push-up, you can add reps. So muscle pump, some progression, etc. Finding ways to improve hypertrophy after you've already, shot your compound movement load, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's what I love about the just the whole area of hypertrophy. There's so many different ways to skin the cat with it.
Right.
Like it's of all the goals that you want to achieve, like strength, power, explosiveness, speed, of all of those things that you want to try to achieve, hypertrophy is the easiest to accomplish of those, and like most people can do that, and you can do it a variety of ways. Where like building strength, like pure strength, like powerlifting strength, there's a certain set way to do that to be most efficient with it. With hypertrophy, you can come at it from like 16 different directions. It's awesome.
Yeah, and Robert, are you familiar with the bulldozer lateral variation that I do? I assume you are.
Yep, I did those on Wednesday.
Lately, I've been having recommending clients do bulldozers and then supersetting them with regular laterals or cable laterals. Just because the bulldozer has a little bit more progression window and it's a little bit more cheaty, right? Because of the just finding ways to improve the intensity. When it comes to hypertrophy, to Robert's point, there's more creativity involved, right?
Yeah.
You can try different things that really have no application in strength training.
Yeah.
Other than a muscle base. Tony Davis, what are your thoughts on using the safety bar for squats? Now, I know most of you are familiar with what a safety bar is. When I say most, probably 50% of those watching. But for those of you that are not, let me find a picture here. Let's see. There we go. Come on. Paste a Ruski. You can do it. Internet. Okay. Share screen. I wish this was a little bit bigger. That's a safety squat bar. I have one. I have no issues with it. None at all. There's no real downside. It's just a good quality exercise variation. And, for the average lifter, even if you were training for powerlifting, you can use it. When I trained with Donnie Thompson, who was then the strongest lifter in the world, that's what we used during training a lot of the times. So no issues with it at all.
No, I think it's like you said, Steve, for the average lifter, just like I think trap bar deadlifts are a better alternative to the conventional deadlift for like the average fitness individual. I'd say the same thing for the safety bar squat. I'd go with that instead of the traditional barbell back squat form.
Yeah, and to that point, getting under a barbell as we age gets harder and harder. Shoulder mobility, extra girth in our body makes it harder to get under. You see these pictures of these guys with these narrow grips, and you can do that. But as you get older and bigger and less flexible, it becomes more difficult. It places a lot of extra stress on the shoulders. People will come to me and say, I can't get under a barbell on the squat. What can I do for mobility? And I'll say, widen your grip. And they'll be like, widen my grip? Isn't that am I supposed to keep it right here? Like, no, you don't have to keep it right there.
Yeah.
But to that point, this is a good alternative. And to Robert's point, I had a client today asked me about trap bar deadlifts, and I mentioned that exact point. For somebody that's not into powerlifting, it's probably a better choice in the long run, just to save your back.
Yeah, it's more accessible, easier to learn, I would think too.
And less likelihood because of the natural leverages that you're going to fold over. When's the last time you've seen somebody, Robert, do a trap bar deadlift where their torso was parallel to the ground?
Exactly.
I need help. That's what we're here for. I'm novice and I have bad asthma. I lost 50% of my lungs. My lifting's been stuck for a long time and I'm in Sweden. First thing I would do is move from Sweden. That's probably contributing to just humor. I don't know. Sweden looks like a wonderful country to live. I don't know much about the asthma end of things. So, I did a lot of respiratory tests when I was in occupational health. And the only thing I know about lung health and lung capacity is relative to those that smoke. When they stop smoking, you usually see an improvement in lung capacity. So I do not know how to help with that problem. I assume you're looking at building a better body. The only thing I would say is you probably have to work with rep ranges that work with your asthma, and you probably have to keep a really quality rest in between sets that works with your asthma. Does that sound reasonable, Robert?
Yes.
So that's all right. Robert, have you seen it yet?
Negative Ghost Rider. I have
I
not seen it
agree.
yet.
I agree. It's 10 times better than the original.
I didn't see the original either, though. I'm not as big into the DC stuff, especially like the newer DC stuff. The old school, like Christopher Reeves Superman, Michael Keaton Batman, even the Christian Bale Batman was great. I loved all of those. The newer DC expanded universe, I have not seen.
I would say watch this movie. This is from a movie lover standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, I'd like to hear what you guys think. The Flash character, just took the whole movie for me. I love the Flash character. It's like watching the Doctor Strange movie.
Mm-hmm.
It completely caught me off guard because of the character and the story. But the kid playing the Flash, I absolutely thought was brilliant. I would watch a movie with him, even if you hate the DC universe. Papa Raw, Quebec is locked down too, unfortunately. And I'm looking for a great hike for a long weekend with the teenage kids in the Midwest area. Wow. Where Midwest? Because I've been all over. I mean, if you're going like more Ohio, you got Hocking Hills. If you want to venture down to Kentucky, you got Red River Gorge. That's not really Midwest. Chicago, Illinois, kind of a dead zone for me. I'm trying to think. I haven't really been in Wisconsin. I know Ohio and West Virginia and Kentucky better than anything. I mean, if you could travel, I would honestly go there. But let me know the specific area and range. Is pushing to failure every single set the way to go? No. I feel sometimes that the carryover fatigue increases recovery. First off, every exercise has a different set of demands. And for some exercises, pushing to failure is not punishing to the point where you have to worry about it. And for some, it's extremely punishing. The idea that you have to push this failure on every set is completely misguided. What you should do with an eye on longevity and an eye on muscle fiber recruitment is push a set for as many quality reps as possible. Quality. Stopping the set when you feel like you might fail on the next rep or when you feel like your form is going to break down. Stop the set. By then, you're probably at one rep in reverse. You can also notice when your bar speeds, like when you're repping out, and then you hit just a little bit slower of a bar speed. It's probably going to be more of a grinder. So you have to learn to be in tune with bar speed a little bit on your sets as well. That set where that rep slows, that's probably the rep where you're getting the most from a hypertrophy standpoint out of that set. The grinder, if you can get a grind after that safely, by all means do so. But just don't do it at the expense of form. Any thoughts, Robert?
Nope, that's pretty much everything. Definitely don't need to go to failure every set. And you pretty much answered your own question there, Sammy. Yeah, going to failure every set is definitely going to be more fatiguing, both locally in the muscle and systemically at the nervous system level. And then you're going to feel like shit. So yeah, don't. I mean, you want to take the last set of an exercise to failure? Sure, that's fine. Would I recommend doing that on the big, like barbell lifts, like overhead press, squat, deadlift, bench? No. But, dumbbell movements, fine. Bodyweight movements, fine. Machine exercises, yeah, sure. Isolation, yeah, all day, that's fine. But, be safe. Practice safe sets, like C says.
Practice safe sets. For my clients, I have them be very cautious on squats and deadlifts. Usually, for squats, at least usually 2 reps in reserve, or not to the point where your bar speed's dramatically slowing. And on deadlifts, you have to be super, super, super conservative. But beyond those big lifts, usually 4 sets of workout are pushed close to not failure, but as many quality reps as possible. Any advice on balancing basketball 3 times a week with heavy advanced lifting? It's taking a toll on my body. I'd have to look at the program because on paper, there's no reason basketball 3 times a week should be really impacting lifting unless it's for an extended period of time. We can go for a couple hours at a time. I mean, as someone that played basketball a lot, the only thing I could say is if you're struggling with recovery, you got to adjust your variables and maybe pull your lifting down to 3 times a week. But I don't want to see you talk about balance. I would the first step, probably pull lifting back to 3 times a week. Anything you would adjust, Robert?
Look at your nutrition, look at your sleep, and your stress management. That would be the first thing. After Steve said, look at your program. Are you consuming food in and around your training window to help facilitate glycogen replenishment, muscle recovery, things like that? Are you getting 7 to 9 hours of good sleep each night? And are you not stressed? Those all will affect your ability to recover sufficiently between your basketball and your lifting sessions.
Yeah, nutritional consistency, exercise efficiency. I would like to look at your program. I would like to look at your nutrition. My wife's here. She shocked me before when she came in at the beginning of the workout, and I was grumpy at her, just like I was grumpy at Robert. I was grumpy at everybody back then.
Hello.
I got a new president today.
Oh.
Hey, you can finally stop wearing that other hoodie all the time.
Yeah, because everybody's giving me fucking shit because it's freezing in here.
Okay, come here.
And it's freezing in here.
Hey, we have him.
What's up, Mr. B? Mr. B had man surgery, and he was
better now. He doesn't have the donut around his neck.
No,
I know. I took that off.
He's doing all right.
He's doing good.
He is.
This dog right here can he'll go on like 2-mile hikes and doesn't even bat an eye.
Even with those little stubby legs, man, he can truck it.
This dude can fly.
He's a good boy.
There we go.
All right.
Now you just need to train Steve like that, Fiona. Make him a good boy.
Steve just wants beer every day.
Good boy. Good boy.
So if you guys want, I got a red hoodie and a black hoodie. All the freaks tell me my brown hoodie's over there. Like you can see, I'm not wearing a hoodie today because it's not 40 degrees in my office. That woman you shared a video of should get married with Humiston. Ryan Humiston started making. Now he's doing videos called science-based tricep exercises. Like, come on, I'm not gonna be so bold as to call an exercise science-based. Like one exercise is better than another. I mean, that would make Brad Schoenfeld, shit out a kidney. Like we all know that's not true for hypertrophy. It's very individual dependent. So if we want to talk about science, the science of science-based exercise is going to be very individual dependent. Biomechanics and physiology and all that kind of stuff. Anyway,
that's just the SEO wordplay. That's all that is.
Yeah. There was something that I said in my head to Ryan Humiston that started with "Go yourself," and I'm not going to say it out loud. Braden Juke, you say you need to push harder on the days you feel bad. You mean go for PRs? No, don't overcomplicate things like that. Hey, stop licking your ass. Sorry, we're right in the middle of an intimate ass licking session. Peanut, my dog Peanut stays right over here. Just to frame this for folks, I like on days when I feel tired or unmotivated, I make myself go harder. I'm like, part of developing mental strength. Like if I go out for a run and I feel tired, I'm like, fuck it, I'm going to make myself go 15 minutes longer today. I push back against the brain trying to tell me to stop. It's a conditioning training thing. It's just something I do. So I don't necessarily go for PRs. That's not what I'm saying at all. Like if I'm, for example, tomorrow I got a run, 3 hours, whatever. If I don't feel like doing it, I feel completely tired and fucked. What I will do is put myself in harm's way. Here's what I mean. I will make myself do an out and back. So I'm running 2 hours out, and then guess what? I have to run 2 hours back or I'm fucked. You know, that's kind of what I mean. You know, I'll put myself in a position where I have no choice but to fight my way out. In resistance training, though, you know, I'm not going to start going for PRs. I don't believe in that stuff. You know, I don't believe in 1 rep maxes and all that kind of stuff. But on days when I don't want to work out, I just work out harder, with more intensity, with more energy, with more fuck you, I'm going to do this. Yep. It's really like that. Does that make sense?
Perfect.
I mean, there's 2 ways to work out, you know, like nonchalant, you know, doing the sets, doing the reps. I'm tired, whining like a bitch. Or I'm going to go in there and I'm going to attack. I'm going to put every ounce of energy I have into it.
Yeah. It's
kind of like the mindset, like you're going to fight. Opinion on John Meadows' obsession with exercise order. Now, Robert, I could lead this, but I'm going to let you lead this. I'm not even sure if you're familiar with. I'm not familiar with his obsession. I have my own obsession, but I'm going to let you start with thoughts on exercise order when it comes to hypertrophy, since this is a hypertrophy coach.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not sure if I'm nuts about the way Bill's phrased the question. Like, obsession makes it almost seem like an unhealthy thing, or like John is saying, my way is the only way to do it. He's evolved his training method over, you know, decades of coaching, and, you know, he got tired of having his joints and tendons feel like shit all the time. So he's come up with a way of organizing his training that has allowed him to build a better physique and remain injury free. I mean, he's one of the few guys that's been in the iron game that long. It hasn't completely snapped his shit up at one time or another. Like, he hasn't torn a quad off, and, you know, he's not hobbling around. He's been able to train and use his good form through decades of training and still has an incredible physique. So, I mean, his stuff, you know, is very evidence based, you know, a lot from his anecdotal experience working with clients and all of that. So what he basically does, like for his leg day, for instance, he starts with leg curls. And, you know, the thing is that by doing that, it makes his knees feel better because he gets more blood in the hamstring. So that gives some extra cushion, extra stability at the knee joint. And he's able to then carry that over and have less pain and greater overload with his squats. And then from there, he goes into a movement that is safer to go to failure on. So like he does the priming movement for the leg curls on that. Then he'll go to a squat, which will be his main heavy hitter, where he does like 3 sets of 6 or 3 sets of 8, something like that. Then he'll move on to an exercise that you can safely go to failure on. So that will be where the leg press comes in, or a hack squat, where you can get like a tremendous stretch on the muscle and you can safely go to failure. Use one of those set extending techniques like a rest pause, a cluster set, or a death set, something like that. He'll do those with Bulgarian split squats or, you know, massive drop set. And then finally he'll end up with like RDL. So you can stretch the hamstrings out now. And, you know, it's another movement where you stretch and you lengthen the muscle. And so on a chest workout, it would be something like incline dumbbell bench, then barbell bench, then a machine press, and then at the very end it would be like a pec deck or something like that. So it's just an organized sequential setup of the exercises. I really like it. I structure my leg days similar to the way John does it, because I've found over the years that doing the leg curls first actually makes my Bulgarians, which is, you know, the primary exercise that I use for quads, as far as like the strength building one, it feels great. It takes a little while to get used to, because it's a weird sensation having your hamstrings all full up and puffed up after doing a set of curls. But I mean, it feels great. I haven't had, you know, knee pain really with squats or you know, Bulgarians in a long time.
You know, I just want to add a couple things here. Number one, exercise order for the average individual, the first couple of years of lifting, has to be structured intelligently. Compounds first, because you're still learning the lift, you're still learning form, you're still building strength, and you're trying to do all this safely while building a base. when you look at a lifter, and you guys need to understand this, that is John Meadows or someone like me that's been training for 35 years. And Dr. Mike echoes this sentiment as well. How they train is like looking at a war hero that survived 20 years in the trenches in battle. They are beat up, missing a toe, missing half their earlobe. Their nose been broken 5 times. They can't do this, that, or the other thing because of their shoulder. So when you look at the exercise order of an experienced lifter or exercise selection of an experienced lifter, you have to understand you're looking at like a pro football player in the last year of his career after 7 major injuries, right? It might not make sense, or it might be weird or wacky. I could be using Smith squats next year where you're like, you always said stick to barbell squats. Well, I can't do a barbell squat now because I'm a broke dick son of a bitch, because of what I'm trying to pass along to you guys. So always filter that when you're dealing with an experienced lifter. There's some lifts that might not seem might not make sense compared to what they teach, what they espouse, etc. For the average lifter. Now, what was one thing that's been a challenge for me, because lifting has evolved a lot the last 15 years. And for a while I was, I call what I did power building, but for me, power building was bodybuilding with a focus on strength, right? It had that bodybuilding element to it, like, for example, I've always controlled my eccentrics, but that's kind of become a lost thing in the power building world, the strength and muscle building world. We talked about, doing supersets, Robert, of exercises with an eye on hypertrophy. Mm-hmm. Even stuff like doing leg curls before another exercise. In the hypertrophy world, that's okay.
Yeah.
Because you're progressing safely with the template you have.
Right.
So that's kind of the difference. But with that said, guys like John Meadows are still going to get that lift to superhuman strength levels.
Agreed.
So that's kind of what power building has always been to me. Currently getting my cardio in. Let's see. Best bioavailable forms for magnesium and zinc.
Usually for zinc, magnesium, go for one of the chelated forms like the Trax chelated magnesium. You could also look at a mag citrate. Works well, or if you were looking for more like the cognitive benefits, you could go for a magnesium L-threonate. Avoid magnesium and zinc oxides. Those are really, really shitty forms of those minerals that have like 10 to 15% bioavailability. Zinc citrate as well, or you could look for one of the Trax or the Albion chelated forms of zinc as well.
Thanks, Robert. I'm going to jump back to this real quick because Adam was asking. Look, if you're going to go, if you're going to look for the best hikes, you need to go to Hocking Hills area in Ohio. You can do the Hocking Hills hike. You can do Old Man's Cave. You can do, there's so many hikes around there. I had a retreat there. We did about 4 hikes. I can tell you, but there's 4 hikes within like 30 minutes of each other, and they're all spectacular. It's probably some of the best hiking in the Northeast. And if you're going to go on a weekend adventure, that's absolutely where I would go. And there's one in Indiana that I've done that's worthwhile, but it's not really worth a long drive. Michael Williams, I take days with coffee in the AM and in a thermos for the next 4 to 5 hours of the day. However, I train in the evenings after work 4 nights a week. Could this be better?
Yeah, ditch the glutamine and the BCAAs. They're not doing anything for you. The creatine shouldn't really be mixed with hot or overly acidic liquids because it leads to degrading the creatine into creatinine. So ideally, just shoot your creatine, just dry scoop it if you have to, or just take it with a swig of water and drink it that way, or mix. Do that. Don't do it with coffee. It's just going to cause it to degrade too much. And by the end of the day, if you're sipping it over the course of 4 or 5 hours, it'll be degraded into creatinine, which will basically be useless. It won't do anything to enhance your body's or your muscles' creatine phosphate stores. So yeah, that would be the way to make it better. Just get your creatine in any other way possible. Mix it with a protein shake, or just dry scoop and swig it down with water or something along those lines. Or mix it up with BCAAs and just chug it. Don't mix it with coffee and leave it in a thermos all day.
All right, Robert, here we go. Here's one for you. And I'm looking at that avatar. Someone's got their spilled chili all over the floor. So that's a bad day. But that's all right, Robert, here's a question for you.
What about beta-ecdystyrone? Okay, so this is referencing back to the turkesterone talk that we talked about earlier. We said that turkesterone is a metabolite or an analog of 20-hydroxyecdysone. Beta-ecdystyrone is the same thing as 20-hydroxyecdysone, around 500 milligrams a day. Go check out my article on advancedmolecularlabs.com. All about it. Goes all into about everything beta-hydroxyecdysone, 20-hydroxyecdysone, beta-ecdystyrone. It's all the exact same compound.
Thanks, Robert. Best cardio workout and style that doesn't interfere with muscle building. There's really no best. Any reasonable form isn't going to interfere. I recommend to my clients aim for an hour a week of cardio. Some folks, find that goal laughable, but it's a good sustainable goal. And I'm not talking about that's the only movement you should, do, but it doesn't really matter as long as it's reasonable. I would do something with elevation to encourage your heart rate, to get your heart rate up. Stairmaster, low impact. I like to do elliptical with bursts of a little bit faster speed. Hiking is a great way because you're out and getting some sun and you're out in nature and you're de-stressing. Anything like that. Anything that's low. I like low impact elevation work, just as a general health. But something with elevation will encourage your heart rate to get up there a little bit. Anything you prefer, Robert?
I go on walks multiple times a day around here just because I get tired of sitting inside and working, and so I'll go on a couple of 20 or 30-minute walks during the day. That I like bodyweight circuits. I like kettlebell swings for cardio. I like some interval training, so I like bodyweight exercises doing intervals. Those are my main cardio modalities. I don't do anything on a treadmill, elliptical, bike, or anything like that. It's either walking up hills because we have a very, very hilly neighborhood here. Like for instance, one of the hills that's right around the corner back there. According to this little Fitbit thing, going up that hill is equivalent to like 9 flights of stairs, and then there's another hill on the outer edge of the subdivision where it's equivalent to 15 flights of stairs. But that's how it tracks. I don't know how it does it, but I guess it goes by elevation or something. But yeah, I like doing that. Just going out on walks. You get the sunlight, you get the air, you get the nice trees. Or if I don't feel like going outside, or if it's too freaking hot, like it gets in the middle of summer here in Texas and it's not early morning, I'll do bodyweight circuits indoors just because I like doing that stuff.
Yeah, Robert, I'm going to make a point here. If I can get code, let's hope. And come on, internet, you can do it. There we go. Peanut, you can do it. Wake up, big girl. It's not loading. It's crazy internet. All right, let's try. Halfway there. Oh, we got it. What do you know? Okay, so I want to make a point because I there we go. Some funny things happening with the internet today. Let me get rid of this a little bit. And it said I posted many blah blah blah. And I mentioned healthier general things that improve health, healthier eating, sunlight, a nightly walk, resistance training. And I want to focus on the nightly walk thing, okay? Because I posted that on social media, and I got a couple comments that were ridiculous, like snarky, sarcastic, like, when you add something as stupid as that in here. Fitness snob crap, like a nightly walk. Like, yeah, have you ever coached people for a living? Like people that have bad habits, people that get overweight, unhealthy, they have bad habits. That's how they're overweight or unhealthy. They don't do simple things like just get out and enjoy the night air and go for a walk anymore, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes that can be a good starting point, but it's funny how comments like this can attract fit snobs. Like they should be doing 20 minutes of HIIT cardio a week, like shut up. But it's just funny how detached we can be, Robert, from just the simple things in life, getting sunlight, going for a walk with your wife or dog. I mean,
yep.
Everything has to be super intense. All right. If you called Superman laser eyes, would that be racist or xenoist? Is that how you pronounce that? Xenoist?
Yeah, I would go with that.
Well, if there was any loon bags on Krypton, they would probably call it that. So yeah, let's just hope there's no loon bags on Krypton with superpowers. Is that Quentin Tarantino? Robert, do you look like Quentin Tarantino?
I don't think so. I don't really think I look like Quentin Tarantino at all.
You look at people say I look like Wolverine. I think I look less like Wolverine than you look like Quentin.
Yeah, there is a funny story though. This was in all right. So the first Spider-Man movie, one with what's his face, Tobey Maguire, came out in 2002, I think. 2000 or 2000? Yeah, it was 2002. So I'm walking around Esplanade Mall with my mom, because I'm still in high school at this point. I was a junior in high school, and we walk into Old Navy. I'm getting some clothes, jeans or polo shirts, whatever the fuck I was getting, khaki shorts or something. I don't know. I get all the clothes because obviously I need money, and so she's gonna buy the stuff for me. I go into the changing room. Some little old lady sees my mom, walks up to her. She says, "Is that the guy that plays Spider-Man in the Spider-Man movie?" And my mom's thinking. Mom says, no. Well, I mean, so at the time, I used to have, I didn't wear glasses in high school. I always wore contacts, and now I'm fine. I just enjoy wearing glasses more. But I used to have my hair parted to the side, kind of like Spider-Man did in that movie. And so I very much looked like him. I had the baby face like he had and everything. I mean, I still think I have kind of a baby face anyway. But my mom looked at the lady and said, no, that's my son. And then she comes out and tells me that story at the end of it. And she says, Robert, you will never believe this. But when she says, I see it, but she's thinking, you just wonder, like, do these people think, like, if that guy really was the guy who played Spider-Man, why the hell is he in an Old Navy with his mom and the mom is buying clothes for him? Like, it just, where's that next? But I mean, I've gotten that a couple of times. Like, I look like Tobey Maguire, or I look like Spider-Man.
Yeah, I can see it with the glasses. It's just the glasses that look similar.
Yeah.
Let's see. Problem with bourbon is that I want more. The problem with life is that I want more. I want more pizza. I want more wings. I want more relaxation time. I want more beer. I want more bourbon. I want more cigars. That's why balance is so important.
Yep.
But I don't care how. I don't care much I've had. I want more. I think I need my midday cocktail right now. You guys, you are pulling everybody down to your level. You're turning this Friday into let's start drinking. Does flexibility hurt your strength? Robert, I'm going to lead the discussion and toss it your way. Back in the day, like in the ancient times when dinosaurs roamed the earth, everybody stretched. I was told to stretch. I stretched before running. I stretched before lifting. I stretched before sex. I stretched before ping pong because stretching was what you did, right?
Yep.
And then we came across study, maybe a study. I don't know that it was a meta-analysis, but we came across a study. I'll assume it was a study that showed that stretching before lifting may be counterproductive to strength. And I think that's kind of where we were at. I think it kind of remains in that zone. That stretching prior to lifting could potentially be counterproductive to strength. Have you heard any information to add to that, or?
Yeah, I mean, like most things that happen in fitness, when a study comes out, it gets so overblown and overly simplified that it loses what the message of what the study actually said. So, first off, does flexibility hurt your strength? Just being flexible in and of itself? No. I mean, it's going to allow you to get a greater stretch and go through a greater range of motion, which is ultimately going to lead to, greater gains because your muscles are going to have to work more to move your body through a fuller range of motion. Back to the static stretching thing. Yeah, we were told the same thing. Always stretch. We did stretching before taekwondo. We did stretching before gym class. All that stuff. Stretches. The studies that show that it reduces strength and power output. They are holding very intense stretches for over 60 seconds. Okay, so if you're just going where like your quad and your hip flexor feels a little tight, you're holding it for 10 or 15, 30 seconds before you go lift. That's fine. And so yes, it reduces if you are holding a very aggressive stretch for greater than 60 seconds, and then you immediately go and try and do a deadlift or a squat or something, yeah, your performance is going to be limited. However, if you're just doing a mild stretch, or if you do an aggressive stretch, but then you allow 5 minutes to elapse, those reductions in performance are washed away. That effect no longer carries over. So, I mean, I don't know many people that are holding a stretch for 60 seconds and then go and attempt like a max left squat or something like that. So it's like the message has been oversimplified, and now that static stretching is horrible, you should never do it.
So I want to end cap what Robert said. Number one, I don't believe you need to stretch before anything. That's just my opinion. I don't believe you need to. I don't stretch before running. I just start walking for 3 minutes and then I start running. I don't stretch before lifting. That doesn't mean there's not value in foam rolling or loosening up the body, loosening up the fascia, raising your body temperature, doing other things. Yep. Sometimes you have kinks. I would say it's probably better just to do a warm-up with some light, moderate barbell exercises to get the body moving for that, prime for that exercise. So for lifters, I don't think that's necessarily the best investment. With that said, flexibility, me and my wife have started doing yoga because I'm like a steel beam. I'm inflexible more than I have ever been in my life. So I think flexibility, a reasonable degree of flexibility, is something you want to maintain as you age. Because I think it's really easy to lose as you age, and you really start to notice it over the age of 50. So what's it going to hurt your strength? I mean, are you trying to set the over 50 world powerlifting record? Are you trying to, are you 700? If you're trying to squat 750 pounds and set a state record or something, maybe you don't want to invest in flexibility training right now. You want to focus your energy into something else. But for the rest of the world, flexibility has, especially as we age, and I would include it as a pillar of general fitness.
Yeah.
Cheers. All right. What do you got? Avatar Part 2. They are finished filming, but they also filmed 3 or 4 movies at the same time. That would make sense. I checked probably 5 years, on the internet, probably 5 years ago now, just to see where they're at. But, I'll be honest. I was also checking when's the next Alien movie, when's Prometheus coming out, and I really didn't like Prometheus. It was okay, but I was kind of like, that sucked. That sucked balls. That sucked big, juicy, sweaty balls. Avatar's going to suck. Everything's going to suck, so. And then they changed the guy that Spider-Man, and that sucked, and everything sucked, and I quit life and stopped watching movies. No, not really. I'm just making this all up. I'm so ready for Avatar. Robert, you could have at least watched Avatar for the amazing James Cameron love story.
I thought that was Titanic.
Oh, my God. I still have nightmares about seeing Titanic. I do. I hate that movie. It's just, oh my God. I still have nightmares about seeing it. I'm currently doing a push-pull legs at home with my body weight. My push workout consists of 26 sets of quads. Is that too much? Not if you're recovering. Is it effective for muscle building? Is it the most effective way? I would say if you have to do 26 sets of an exercise, it's probably not as challenging as it could be. Here's what I mean. Like my clients at home gyms, I make them superset goblet squats with pause body weight jump squats, for example. We try to increase the intensity. So how about you, Robert? What do you have to say?
That seems like, I mean, that's on the upper end of the volume spectrum of stuff. Can you do that? Sure. I'm curious to see how far are you pushing those 26 sets to failure. I mean, I'm somebody that likes to think I've got a good amount of strength endurance. Like I can handle a lot of volumes for my lower body, but shit, man, 26 sets, even for me, it's somebody that likes leg day. That seems like an awful lot. I'm curious to see how many of those sets are you actually pushing relatively close to failure on? Like you're coming within 1 to 3 reps of not being able to do another one. Or are you just accumulating, a ton of volume, but those sets aren't really that fatiguing?
That's probably like more of a general fitness program, where you're doing a lot of burpees or doing a lot of conditioning work. It's probably not bad for your body. Over time, you could probably maybe encourage overuse injuries. So just be careful.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Jeff, do you recommend using phase 6 of your beginner routine that you did for muscle and strength for more AFA? There's a nice program I around muscle and strength many years ago. And my goodness, it's been forever.
Maybe saying for a more advanced lifter. Maybe that's where that's going more alpha.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull it up because I want to look at the specifics. It's been probably 8 years since I looked at this program. I made so many programs I forgot most of them. Let's see, phase 6. Show. Let's see if we can find it in. I can't actually find it. The 2-year, is it the 2-year plan for mass? Robert, I was such a contrarian that, everybody has the 21 days to a bigger biceps.
Mm-hmm.
I put together the fast 2-year mass. Stage 6. I'm going to pull this up. And actually, if you want to find the article, it's Get Huge Fast, the 2-year plan for mass. Okay. And some of that's tongue in cheek, that's how you, I mean, if that's basically what we want to maximize the first 2 years of training. So, let's see, you got Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. You basically have 4 workouts a week, and I'm getting used to this. You have dumbbell bench, some lighter stuff, and then some drop work. Incline bench or incline dumbbell bench, dumbbell flies, curls. So you got 10, 12, 14, 16, 19 sets, including sit-ups. And you can dump the weighted sit-ups. Some of that's old me. So basically 4 sets of squats, leg press. Like it's not too much different than what I do now. It's a good program. I mean, would I change a few things? More or less, but it's got the bones of what I do now. So it's a good program. The volume is 16, 17 sets per body part, excluding abs. Yeah, an advanced lifter, somebody that's more experienced, could absolutely get a lot out of that program. I have narrow squat, Bulgarian squat, reverse Nordic, and jump squat. We'll just leave it at just maybe try to improve the intensity a little bit.
Yeah. How much weight do you have? Like, are you maxing out your weight selection? Is that why you're needing to do so many sets? If so, put your Bulgarians first, and that'll go heavier on that. You'll be able to get more out of those weights. Since you're only training one leg at a time, that'll make those weights go a lot longer, and you can probably get by with less sets.
The great Freight. Hey, what's going on? Great name. I'm recording my dumbbell bench, and I notice my left side isn't going as low as my right arm. Is there a way to fix this? I've dealt with Klein imbalances where one arm goes lower than the other, or one arm leans a little bit. Sometimes there's just some wacky things physiologically going on that are well beyond our scope to understand or process without some sports, doctor really diving deep into what the heck is going on in your body. I generally say just focus on using a good exercise selection, control the weight, use good form, and just do what you can do. You're going to be safe. Do I know how to fix that? No, not necessarily. You can work on fixing it. Awareness is the first step. But, I wouldn't panic if you're not able to fix it or you don't see changes overnight. Anything to add, Robert?
Yeah. All right. So you notice that your left side isn't going as low as your right arm. So does it hurt to go lower? Is that I'm confused. Like, the way to fix it is just bring your arm lower. That's my initial reaction. So it's like, you've noticed that your arms aren't going all the way down. What's the degree? Like, are we talking like one arm is coming here and the other arm's coming way down here kind of thing? Or is it like barely a little bit? Or what's exactly going on? All it is maybe get consistency with your dumbbell bench. Come here, touch the plates to the outside of your pecs, so that way you're guaranteed that you've got a consistent range of motion, and then push back up. It's kind of a strange question that I don't know if I'm understanding entirely. The way to fix it is just drop the dumbbell lower. But is it causing shoulder pain? Is it like causing irritation in your bicep tendon up there or something? That's where I'm a little bit confused right there.
Some of it could have to do with physiology.
Yeah.
Some of it could have to do with form, discipline. Some of neuromuscular adaptation could be pretty fresh. So there's some variables here that we would actually need to see, to process more intelligently. If that makes sense. All right. Since we're getting everybody drunk on bourbon, let's take off the underwear. I'll take them underwear. No need to wash.
Perfect.
Bree, carb, sugar, or protein shake as intra if you work out in the morning fasted. Now, Bree, I'm going to share my opinion, and I'll let Robert share his, and we'll see how we line up. But I get this question a lot about lifting in the morning. And Robert, I believe in the morning we're probably at our lightest because we're probably at our lowest as far as hydration or water retention. So I recommend people get up in the morning, pound some water straight out of bed if they're going to work out, and then have some simple sugars at least, or a half a protein shake. In America, I recommend they take something like a honey stinger, which is what the runners take. It has 120 grams of simple carbs. Get some energy in your system, get some water in your system. And I think that's how I'd like to do it. Maybe a half protein shake. If you're going to have water, you can have maybe a half protein shake. I don't like to do a full protein shake because that's almost off-putting for me first thing in the morning. So what are your thoughts, Robert?
I would, there's a couple of ways I want to spin this, or I guess, ask Bree for clarification. Carbs, sugar, how long are your workouts, Bree? Did you have a really carb-rich meal close to bed? So, like, let's say you're going to bed at 10 o'clock. Did you eat a fairly carb-heavy dinner at 8 o'clock? If so, your body's going to have more than enough glycogen to get you through your workout if you're working out first thing in the morning at like 5 or 6 in the morning. Even then, it might be good to just kind of like tap off glycogen stores, get blood sugar levels elevated a little bit. I don't like using a protein shake as an intra. Like, I just don't want like that milky, creamy kind of taste and texture while I'm in the middle of a training session. Right. If anything, I would do carbs and essential amino acids as an intra workout, not a protein shake. Save the protein shake for afterwards, or slam it right before you go train. Like as soon as you wake up, down the protein shake, go train 15, 20, 30 minutes later. That's fine. I don't like sipping on a whey protein shake as an intra workout. I don't like that flavor, that taste, texture profile at all. But there's also, you don't necessarily have to have anything. Like I went for years just training on an empty stomach, and then I would eat something immediately after training. It kind of depends. Like, do you feel like you're missing that fifth gear there, Bree, and you need something to kind of get you over the hump? If in that case, I would do a mix of carbs and essential amino acids, and save the protein shake for afterwards.
So, Robert, I'm going to toss this to you. My running coach, who was, one of the top runners in the world, ultra runners in the world, would always recommend 15 minutes into a run taking some simple sugars. But if you take something, let's say you're applying that to lifting, if you take something 15 minutes into a workout, or at the beginning of a workout, or 15 minutes to a workout, how soon before it's going to hit your system to actually give you a little bit more pickup, in the bloodstream, maybe from,
Probably 20, 30 minutes, I would imagine. I mean, it's gonna take a while. Like a whey protein shake is digested in and out of your system within 45 to 60 minutes. Individual amino acids like an EAA or BCAA supplement are even faster digesting than that. Certain kind of carbs are digested at different rates. So something like a cluster dextrin or just pure like glucose, dextrose, is going to be digested faster than like a complex carbohydrate like an oat, or even something like maltodextrin or something.
All right, thanks, Robert. Daniel loves us. We know Daniel. That's because we love you back. Gravity training. Thoughts on Bulgarian split squats for quad growth, or are they a balancing act? Robert, when I do Bulgarians, I get this a lot, on balancing. I always rest one arm on. I mean, when I'm on the bench, I'll hold a barbell or the rack, or I'll position the bench so I'm holding something with the opposite arm. Correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're involving the knee and something that requires balance, it's probably a good idea to balance it so you can focus your exercise. Is that how you do your split squats?
No, I do them. I've got dumbbells or kettlebells in both hands doing them.
Well, you're like a wizard then.
No, I don't even think it's like that. I think if you have a ton of trouble balancing with it, like you need to devote some time to increasing. There's a lack of stability and strength in one of those supporting hip muscles or something like that. There's got to be a weakness there. So like, yes, you can do it for that way, and you can work on it towards that way. But I mean, I use the Bulgarians as like my primary like strength and muscle building exercise for my quads. So I mean, I get up to holding 50, 60, 70 pounds, depending on which rep range I'm working in with the things in both hands. So yeah, and I know there's some other strength coaches like Mike Boyle does it. Ben Bruno, does a lot of single leg training, heavy single leg training stuff. Even John Meadows has got some videos out there. It depends. No, they're not a circus act. They're not a balancing act. If you do them properly, don't do it the way the booty girls on Instagram go, where they're doing like a half rep motion. They're way hyperextending their back to make their butt look bigger on camera and anything like that. Keep a nice compact stance that'll really shift the tension into the quadricep, and just start with body weight. It's going to be a humbling experience because people lack the stability and coordination to do it, because unilateral training isn't emphasized heavily enough, I don't think. Maybe not so much in the sports world, but in the bodybuilding world, I think, just because it takes a little bit longer. It's not as sexy as loading up a barbell or something, but it can be equally effective for quad growth, I think.
Yeah, I mean, over the years, I've always tried, when applicable, to involve some form of unilateral exercise in training. Lunges are a form of unilateral, so are Bulgarian split squats, single arm dumbbell rows. There was some science, and I believe this is pretty much common sense, that when the body uses one side only, the central nervous system almost focuses more on that one side, so you'll be able to generate a little bit more power and strength off one side than if using both at the same time. Is that a fair way of saying it, Robert?
Yeah. So like, say your max on squat was 300 pounds. Okay. So that's roughly, we're just going to say it's even at like 150 on each leg. There's videos of some of the athletes that Mike Boyle coaches or Ben Bruno coaches. Like they're lifting 200 pounds with a single leg. And so that would be equivalent to, a 400-pound squat. So you're able to generate more force. You're able to get more tension, more work out of a muscle when you work it unilaterally than as opposed to a bilateral.
Thanks, Robert. And we're rolling along at 2:24, but just as an end cap, we're almost done. But anybody that is still watching, if you post in the comments massive iron before we get out of here, I'll pick one of you to win a free t-shirt shipped anywhere in the world. And we'll also send you a picture of Robert shirtless, courtesy of Daniel for sending the $50. Kevin Hernandez says, "Are you?"
Yes.
Thank you. At the rim. I hope that's the basketball rim, kids. I hope that's the basketball rim. Does mind-muscle connection matter? There's ways to push it too far. Like on a compound movement, the key driver is progressive overload. So on a compound movement, I'm a firm believer in you focus on form, not mind-muscle connection. If you wanted to go lighter on a squat and only focus on quads, then I would be okay with that. But you can't do that in the context of trying to do like a 315 by 5 on squats and then try to focus on quads. So there's a place for everything. The more you get down the ladder towards hypertrophy, isolation, machine exercises, I like to feel the muscles' involvement working while still focused on progressive overload, because there's no downside on a machine chest press to feeling your chest working. If not, you're probably, if it compromises leverages to a minor degree, somehow it's not going to beat up the body. So does it matter? It's a good tool, but you just can't apply. You can't try to turn a compound movement into an isolation exercise in a conventional strength building sense. Again, if you want to do something like John Meadows and do a leg extension and follow it with a quad focus squat, I would say you have to be a good year to 2 years into training, have good squat form mastery, and then be able to change the squat or focus more on the quads and the squat, get anything out of that. So, Robert, any thoughts on that?
No, and I guess to clarify the stuff on like John's training principles, he's not supersetting that first movement with the compound movement. Like he does his 3 or 4 sets of the leg curls to prime the pump, and then he'll move on to the main compound exercise. So like on his chest days, it's like 3 or 4 sets of inclined bench press, dumbbell bench, and then he moves on to barbell bench press of some variant or on that way. And yeah, I think the mind-muscle connection does matter to a certain extent. Schoenfeld's got a study on the mind-muscle connection where they refer to it as an internal focus versus an external focus, and that group had a little bit better hypertrophy. But this is in the context of isolation exercises. They were doing, I believe, leg extensions and bicep curls in the study. And same thing, like if you're doing a bunch of curls and you're not feeling your biceps working, I'm led to believe you're probably not getting the most out of the exercise in terms of increasing the size of your biceps. Now on the bench press maybe, or a row, should you be focused solely on just like isolating the lats when you're rowing? No, I don't think that's a good use of your time. Do you want to feel it working? Yes, but don't try to think about, I'm only using my lats to do this row right now. I don't think that's a good practice to get into.
What Robert said, if you're doing a curl or something and like a more isolation focused exercise or even a machine exercise, and you can't feel the muscle working, there's probably a good chance that your form or your execution is really screwy. Like on a curl, when I do a curl, I rotate in and I try to punch myself in the nose at the end, not literally, and I don't always bring my hand up here, but the vision of doing that me with feel my bicep contraction. So it can help you understand whether you're kind of doing the exercise properly. So yeah, it can have value. One of the major drivers of hypertrophy is adjusting the exercises to what feels good for you. So having some awareness of, hey, I can feel I can feel this one and this one. I can't feel that and that one. It could have to do with your physiology, your limb length, stuff like that. So yeah, having an awareness can definitely have a benefit on hypertrophy on many different levels. All right, so this is Frank. Frank is a client of mine, and I want you guys to go check out his YouTube channel. We're trying to move Frank from 500 pounds down to machine. I really respect Frank because every single day he is attacking it, doing the movements he can. We put together a workout for him, and Frank is really working hard on dropping the weight. I believe he dropped 7 pounds this week.
Awesome.
So keep it up, Frank. Frank's exploring a gym membership, and hopefully everything works out with that. Will it matter if I train when I haven't eaten something? I trained when I was at my strongest. I think I trained with only protein shakes in the morning, like 2 or 3 shakes in the morning, pretty much borderline fasted. So the body will acclimate. Robert touched on this a little bit earlier.
Yeah. How's your performance? Like, how do you subjectively feel, and how are your numbers looking when you're training fasted? You can adapt to it. I trained for a long time without doing it. Even now, I'm back into the thing of like, I'll drop the girls off at their respective schools in the morning. I come home, I train right away, and then I eat something afterwards. I'm sipping on some kind of intro, like an EA supplement, but that's just because I drink something that's not water while I'm training. I like something that's kind of tart and refreshing, like a lemon lime essential amino acid supplement or something like that. Really, a lot of it's subjective. Some people don't like to train with any kind of food in their system. They feel fine just because having that heavy feeling makes them feel sluggish, or they can feel kind of nauseous with it. Other people need to feel like that. If they don't have food in their system, they feel very weak. So there's an element of subjectivity to it as well. Kind of gauge it on your personal preference. How is your lifting performance when you eat, and then how close you're eating to your training sessions. Take all these things kind of into effect, and make little notes in your training log, and you'll see what works best for you.
Thanks, Robert. We got another question. Can I get it from quinoa and spinach?
You could, but you're not going to get it to the same benefits. Like, you're not going to get it to the same amounts you would from using a supplement.
Thanks, Robert. Real answer. Thank you. You're welcome, Michael. Thanks for tuning in. Beef McLewis. Every time I read your name, I want to add a Mick on there. I hope that's okay. Because I used to do a little skit called Freak McBeef. So you remarked on not mixing creatine with acidic drinks. Is mixing it with lemon water okay?
Yes. How much lemon is in there? So like the pH, lemon is acidic, lemon juice is acidic, and you add it into water. Water's got a neutral. It's a pH of 7, I think is what regular tap water is. It's neutral. Are you putting 16 lemons in your water? Or are you putting like 1 slice of lemon in there? There's the dose makes the poison kind of scenario here. How much lemon juice or lemon slices are you putting into your water? How long are you letting the creatine sit in there? What temperature is the water? All of these kind of things. Don't get too mired down in the details. Just get the creatine in you as quick as possible. Then you can go back to sipping your lemon ice water or your warm lemon water to stimulate the bowels and whatnot. So
stimulate the bowels.
Yeah, as long as like we're talking about like degrees of magnitude here. So is it like boiling hot water that's got 86 lemon slices in it? The creatine is going to dissolve like that. Is it, room temperature water that's got, 1 or 2 little slices of lemon? The creatine in there is going to be fine. Is it cold water with maybe just like 1 little of lemon juice? Then it's even better. So the colder and more neutral the environment is for the creatine, the better it is for its stability in solution.
Yeah, I'm kind of sad now that I already told folks to post Massive Iron in the comments to win a free t-shirt, because we could have used this opportunity to say, tell us your favorite way to stimulate the bowels to win a Massive Iron t-shirt.
There you go.
We missed that opportunity. Beef McLewis. Rob, are you a fan of the Texas governor?
I'm yes and no. I like some of the actions he's taken recently. I do not like some of the actions he did last year, where he opened everything up and then he caved to whatever kind of internal pressures or external pressures or whatever way he was trying to save face when he shut everything down and enforced the statewide mask mandate and all that bullshit. So yeah, I like what he's doing now, kind of rebuffing and making sure that we're protecting our Second Amendment's rights here. He's trying to make a few other changes as well. So he's trying to, anytime he's championing for individual freedom and states' rights, I'm a fan of any politician that's doing that.
All right, Nigel. A lot of obese people have horrible evening habits. That's very true. They work a 9 to 5 and sit on the couch eating junk food. Getting out for an evening walk breaks that up. I agree. And it's something me and my wife try to do. It's something little, but it's a good way to de-stress. And I like getting out and moving after dinner a little bit. I will add that a lot of folks that are obese, and this is a generalization, but we have a tendency to snack too much during the day. We just random food intake, and then, in the evening, we're still hungry at the same level, and we still eat the same level. So it's kind of a vicious cycle. We snack too much during the day, and once we get home from work, we kind of sit and decompress. And man, I understand the need to decompress just as much as everybody else. But we do try to go out for an evening walk, decompress afterwards. We try to do that when we can. The problem is I have a knee injury. My ACL is inflamed and physiotherapy doesn't seem to work. I'm pretty afraid to go to failure. Well, he's not saying you need to go to failure. If you have a knee injury, though, that's a lot of work, a lot of repetition to be putting on that knee.
Yeah, if you're doing 26 sets, you're only aggravating the problem worse by doing that much volume.
So I would consult your doctor on a few things regarding that intensity. Hello from London. Quick question. What's your advice on building muscle in the over 50s? The one thing I'll say is don't get pulled into the strong lifts, starting strength, 5x5, minimalistic, barbell only worlds. Just like we talked about earlier, when you look at a routine of an advanced lifter, a very experienced lifter, their routine is built up around their war wounds, their injury history, and what is beating up their body. So with somebody that is over 50, I really want to focus them even more on a hypertrophy, a program that is tailored to them without beating up the body, probably more dumbbell focused than barbell. Some of the other hypertrophy coaches would agree with me that in general, dumbbell exercises might be as good, if not a better choice than barbell exercises. So for somebody over 50, I like to start with, I would prefer to start with dumbbells and machines and isolations. But obviously, a lot of guys over 50 still like the old barbell exercises, so I will fit those in as needed. But if you want a custom program or if you want coaching, head over to my website, superlivingtoday.com. I'd be glad to help you further. And in on my other account, I have pain in my left shoulder. The pain is near my armpit, shoulder area when I do dumbbell press. I guess front delta is the area. I'm a little bit lost on if he was referring to earlier question, Robert.
Well, yeah, he was the one that when he was doing his dumbbell bench,
right.
One hand was coming down lower than the other. So maybe he's feeling a little bit, if it's in his front delta area, maybe he's getting the stretch is getting uncomfortable, where the pec tendon or the bicep tendons are inserting up there into the shoulder joint. Maybe that's where some of the discomfort is coming from. Maybe try playing around with your hand position too, Eamon. What do your hands look like? You want to get your arms kind of like at 30, 45 degrees out from the body. Don't do really wide out like this. That's just going to irritate the shit out of all of this stuff in there. get your elbows in closer to your body a little bit. Maybe try messing around with even like a pronated grip, or just slightly flared out, 30 to 45 degrees away from your torso. And then just gradually work into it. But if going too low is causing that much pain and irritation, it's not worth it, man. Just stop where the range of motion is comfortable, and maybe over time work on a slow controlled negative, and you can kind of get down there, or lighten the load just to see, can you go down further with a lighter load and see how that feels, and then work your way up from there.
Thanks, Robert. Beef McLewis, do either of you do standing barbell overhead press? It trashes my whole body. I've always preferred seated with a very slight incline. I like that stability. I like that focus. I don't like placing the stress on my lower back in a lifting environment, dynamic landscape, if you will, that places a lot of stress on the lower back to begin with, from deadlifts and RDLs and squats and dumbbell rows and barbell rows. So I prefer incline. How about you, Robert?
Yeah, I like a high incline seated dumbbell press. I'll do a standing dumbbell press every now and then. I've noticed that my lower back, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's I'm overarching or something like that with it. But I prefer either pike presses with my feet elevated up like really high on a chair, wall assisted, handstand push-ups, dips, or any variation of like a single arm standing overhead press, or a seated Arnold press, or a seated just regular overhead press with dumbbells. I don't like barbell for overhead pressing, just the way I'm built. I don't like the way it feels on me.
Thanks, Robert. Hello from France. Boy, we're getting a lot of questions today. Do you know any spring to get quality testosterone?
Don't waste your money on it. Save it.
Nada. All right, Bree. Yeah, I asked because I feel spent after 60 minutes and the workout's taken 90. If the workout's taken 90, the first step I would see what we can do to prune it down to 75. Anything over 75, unless you're training for a big powerlifting event, it's and you got a lot of warm-up sets before your big list, is probably a little bit too long. All right, let's see. Massive iron, massive iron, massive iron, massive iron. I'm going to pick one of these at the end. I'm going to have my wife pick a random number. So I'm going to be completely out of it. I appreciate you guys posting these. We got a bunch of them. And I'll have my wife pick a random number. She won't have any clue how many people there were, so we'll try to be fair. And I'll do that after the live is done, and I will post in the comments section who won, so you can email me. Excuse me. I don't wear T-shirts or underwear. We'll take note of that, and we'll put it in your official file, Daniel, for reference. Bree, thank you. Thanks, guys. It's crazy on my bench. You really don't feel my chest hurting or any, but once I'm done, I do see the pump. Yeah, on bench, I just focus on the bench, and where I get sore, I get sore. I really focus on beating down the muscle on the other lips. Terrence, you can do it. Frankie keeps plugging away. Push hard. You got this. That's for Frankie, the 500-pound life. Popcorn does it for me, I think. Release the bowels. Massive iron. When are you getting massive iron hats? When I can find a hat like this that I can put my M on it. It really has to be the right kind of hat, because see how we got the sexy curved bill, both Robert and I? Any hat that's not like this shouldn't be worn by a man. I'm sorry, but that's...
Yeah, I never understood the flat bill thing. I don't get that.
I look like a dickhead when I wear one of those. I train at night, usually finishing around 23:20. I'm back up in the next morning at 5. Will a couple of boiled eggs be okay after the workout? Yeah, I would probably try to... Robert, what would you say to adding some simpler, complex carbs in there after the workout?
Yeah, I mean, from the research side of things, you want to get at least like a bare minimum of 20 grams of protein. So each egg has 6 grams of protein, so you need to eat 3 to 4 boiled eggs to get at least 20 grams of protein in there. Carbohydrates definitely would help. I would say the most important thing is going to be the protein.
All right, thanks, Robert. Terrence is a client of mine, and he stimulates his bowels while watching Massive Iron. That might win a T-shirt.
There you go.
How much spinach and beetroot would you need to eat to get the benefits of nitrates?
A lot. So let me pull this up. So from the research side of things, the dose, the average amount that somebody needs to get the actual benefits of nitrates are anywhere between 310 to 1500 milligrams per day. So 500 to 600 milligrams is kind of the sweet spot of nitrates. Here we go. I just pulled up the nitrate content of foods. Where did it go? I just lost it. Okay, materials and methods. Results from the spring sampling phase were in the range of 603 milligrams per kilogram for cabbage. So you would have to eat 2 pounds of cabbage to get 600 milligrams of nitrate, which is going to give you that actual benefit of like increased vasodilation, increased nitric oxide production, increased blood flow, and all of that. 972 milligrams per kilogram for chard. So you get 900 milligrams from 2 pounds of chard. 4 milligrams per kilogram for the arugula. So we're talking on the order of pounds of vegetables here to get enough nitrates. So I hope
Thanks.
I'm somebody that loves vegetables and fruits, but shit, man, 2 pounds of spinach, or cabbage, that's a lot of cabbage.
That's a lot of pooping. Yeah, that would make me shit easily. Massive iron. I flex fast works for me. Can you talk about SST training? Okay, SST training is sarcoplasma stimulating training. It's got a fancy thing and gathering data from IFBB pros and scientific community. Patrick Tour has come up with an exclusive system that is used by today's top bodybuilders. When you read that statement, I'm sure a couple bodybuilders use it, but there's nothing new under the sun. As long as it's got progressive overload built into it, it's absolutely fine. I don't know the specifics of, but one thing I'll say is filter out all the hype. Anything works when you work it properly and it has progressive overload and hard work. I got DDP yoga. That's what we're doing. Wish me luck. Hitting 53. I like DDP because you can access it on the phone, on the TV, on the Roku, you name it. Thanks a bunch. We appreciate you tuning in. Which is better for pre-workout, alpha GPC or citrullocholine?
So these are, citicholine or CDP choline.
Oh, see, sorry.
They are both choline doning compounds, so they'll increase acetylcholine, and both have a little bit of data showing that actually increase dopamine release too in the brain. I personally prefer CDP choline. It's got lower choline content on a gram per gram basis. So alpha GPC is about 40% choline by mass, where CDP choline is 18%. But the cool thing about CDP choline or citicholine is that the front half of the molecule, the cytidine, is converted to uridine, which has some really cool effects on repairing dopamine receptors and increasing dopamine production. There is a little bit of research on alpha GPC showing that it improves isometric mid-thigh pulls and counter movement jump. There haven't been any extra studies to date on CDP choline in exercise performance, but it has been shown that it increases ATP production in the brain, I think up to 20-something%. Personally, I like CDP choline more. Just I get more of a mental boost and a bigger focus boost from citicholine or CDP choline. Alpha GPC, it's good, it's okay. It's not my preferred form. It is in Hooligan, Pruar from Apollo Nutrition, and a bunch of other ones, because there's a couple of studies showing that it does improve, various markers of athletic performance. Do I think one's going to be a make or break in terms of your overall performance or your muscle growth? No. Personal preference for me is I like citicholine more, 250 to 500 milligrams. Thanks,
Robert. Texas Hoosier, what's the recommended warm-up? I use my first lift as my only warm-up. Not. You can't do that. You got to warm up your central nervous system. So there's different components of a warm-up. Number one, you want to kind of raise your body temperature up a little bit. That can be from doing your warm-up sets, actually doing the act of doing your warm-up sets, moving around the gym, swapping out plates, et cetera. Or you could do like a 5-minute warm-up on a treadmill, low intensity, or whatever. You also have to consider, do I have any fascia stiffness or whatever, general stiffness? And you might need to roll or stretch or pound or beat or do whatever to kind of grease the grooves and loosen that up a little bit. From there, you have central nervous system warm up. You have to warm up the central nervous system. You just can't hit it full on in the nuts. The central nervous system is not going to immediately recruit a maximal amount of muscle fibers without some kind of reason to do so. It's not efficient for the body. So you have to have a progressively heavier warm up where you're backing away the reps. So if you're starting at a 200-pound bench, bar by 10, 135 by 6, 165 by 4 or 3 or something like that. You got to kind of increase the weight, decrease the reps at the same time. You don't have to do a lot of reps to warm up the central nervous system. It's more about just kind of signaling to it slowly, incrementally, that hell's coming. Anything to add to that, Robert?
No, I think you pretty much touched on everything. I mean, my warm-ups are a mixture of like doing a few minutes of some kind of cardio, jumping jacks, I don't know, some mobility drills, something to get the heart rate up, or I'll go for a walk around the block real quick just to get everything nice and limber if I haven't been particularly active before my training session. Then I'll do some mobility work, some hip circles, stuff like that. If it's a lower body day, some basic body weight push-ups just to kind of get all the things feeling good. Stabilization stuff, and it's nothing overly fancy.
How important is flexibility and mobility for strength training? Not at all. I mean, it's just not important. The only if mobility training might have value if you're finding it impossible to get in the deep in a hole and you're on the squat and your form is really good, but there's as application. But for the general public, the average lifter, flexibility and mobility really, unless it's an extreme case, there's not much need to obsess about it. Am I right or wrong, Robert?
I think you're correct. I mean, if you are you don't need to have the flexibility of an Olympic gymnast, but you also can't be so immovable and inflexible that you can't get into a proper squat depth, or you can't hinge over properly to pick up a deadlift or bent over row, or so knotted up back here that you can't lower the bar all the way to your chest or something like that. I mean, you need to have a modicum of flexibility and mobility for resistance training. But that's the good thing about resistance training. It's weighted stretching. So like descending into a squat is a weighted stretch on your quads and glutes. A bench press is a weighted stretch on your pecs, your anterior delts, your triceps and all that good stuff. So there's kind of inherent mobility and flexibility work that's kind of built into it, assuming you're performing the movements through a good full range of motion using good technique.
The thing with the fitness world that you guys need to understand is we have number one, we have more information than ever. Number two, the diversity of tools and things available at our disposal are immense. And people make a living off these things, and that doesn't mean they don't have value, but because you have prehab, you have rehab, you have foam rolling, you have stretching, you have mobility work, you have yoga, you have 17 different things. And if you listen to each of these voices, the degree of amplification of how important they are is like pretty higher,
Yep.
higher than the actual need for you to do them. So if you had to do them all, you'd never have time to work out because you'd be busy doing all the stuff.
Yep.
So like Robert said, it's really a case by case basis. If you're struggling in one area, then it's a tool that you should consider. But beyond that, don't feel pressure to do everything. It'll drive you crazy. That sounds like a massive dump, eating all that spinach. From Canada, thank you for your weekly updates. Which do you prefer, creatinine or BCAAs? Creatine or BCAAs? Creatine.
Well, Andre, that you actually listed creatinine, which is the metabolite or the degraded byproduct of creatine metabolism. You don't want to supplement with creatinine. So I'm hopefully you meant creatine. Definitely daily creatine. You don't need BCAAs at all. The daily creatine, 1,000 times over.
Yeah, BCAAs isn't even in the discussion unless you want something nice to flavor your water with.
Yeah.
Is this the new record on the length of the live? Yep, absolutely. 100%. We almost hit 3 hours.
Yeah, I think we've touched 3 hours maybe once, or we've gotten close to it. This is in the running for the top one.
Have a great weekend, guys, and hope you guys are doing well. Thank you guys for tuning in. We are out of here. That's the last comment. Robert, weekend.
Say it again. You broke up.
I said, what are you doing this weekend?
Sandy's got prom at her high school tomorrow night, so it'll be me and the halfling hanging out. We're gonna go try out a New Orleans style restaurant on Saturday afternoon, get some boiled crawfish. Head out to Iron Wolf on Sunday this weekend instead of Saturday like we usually do. And I've got the Final Scoop podcast tomorrow live, 1 p.m. Central Standard Time on the Supplement Engineer YouTube channel, where we'll be doing more of this, answering any and all questions you guys have to throw our way. So if you got some free time tomorrow during the day, go check out Supplement Engineer.
Yep, you weirdos, get over there and support Robert. My wife has been. They announced a prom here locally. My wife's been doing like 1,000 dresses, and we haven't been getting much sleep. And I've been down on 2,200. I was crabby today, and when the internet hit and everything, so I'm
not getting enough bed weirdos time, Steve.
It's hard to play bed weirdos when the dog has a donut on its head, but. Man, the only thing I'm going to be doing this weekend is running and trying not to drink.
There you go.
So, all right, guys, we'll see you next Friday at 11. Have a great weekend.
Bye.